All right, what is up, folks of the internet? No, really, I should just say the YouTube persuasion word. It is Jay Tate. That is me. I am the Commodore of AuburnSports.com, and I am fired up to be here once again on the YouTubes to be chatting. Why did I call it? On the Brain Drain here at AuburnSports.com via YouTube. I don't know why I got confused right there. It's all good. I haven't had a drink since last Saturday night. No kidding. So you can't blame it on that. Word, again, I'm Jay Tate, publisher of AuburnSports.com. And it's been kind of a sad week. Obviously, and we'll spend a lot of time talking about it tonight, but Pat Dye passing away earlier this week. And, I mean, he's an absolute legend. Did something for Auburn, turned Auburn around at a time when Auburn was really, really low. And he turned it around really fast. And he turned it around in a way that, I mean, it's still moving along in the way that Dye set it up to do so. 3 coaches later, and, 2 generations ago, Oh, man. Before I go on my opening soliloquy, Daniel N. is in the chat, and Daniel N. ended up leaving the site for a period of time, but Daniel N. is back, and I was really hoping he would come back, and he is back. So thank you, Daniel, for coming back, and, I think you're a great bunkerer. I don't even know if people know who you are, because I don't say names. I don't link names to bunker handles unless they do it, unless you all want to do it. But anyway. You're a fantastic bunker. Glad to have you back with us. Continuing on with Pat Dye a little bit. I think a lot of you guys, I wasn't at Auburn at the time when he started or when he finished. I didn't get here until 97, so he was already, gone. By the time I got here, I got to the end of the Terry Bowden era, and, Auburn really had fallen off badly during the Barfield era. Which didn't last very long. I'm trying to think. Coach Jordan would have retired in about 75, right? And between 75 and 80, Auburn really sank. Just really, really fell behind. And, it's very easy to say Coach Dye is the best coach Auburn's ever had. You think about in the length of time that he was the coach, he won 4 SEC titles. Pulled Auburn back from, I think Auburn is always going to be a top-tier SEC program. It's just the way it's going to be, but had fallen below that threshold, and then he just pulled it right back up. And not only pulled it up, but just all the way to the top and set essentially a new waterline, a new watermark for Auburn. Hey, this is where Auburn should be. This is where Auburn is. This is where Auburn should be. We're going to get Auburn there, and then you're going to hold it. We're going to hold it. I am, and the people that come after me are going to hold it. And I think for the most part that's happened. And so you got to trace a lot of that back to Pat Dye. And I mentioned this in my column that I wrote the other day. It's very easy to say he's the best coach Auburn ever had. He did a lot of damage when he was Auburn's coach. He wrecked a lot of opposing coaches through the way and had some really good coaches with him. Recruited very well, obviously. But one thing that skeeves me out when we start talking about Coach Dye being the number one guy is that Coach Jordan, he did a lot of work too, and there were some good coaches at Auburn before him even, but he was the standard for a long time, and obviously the 57 team was really good, and he had some other teams in the early 70s that were really good when he had Pat Sullivan and Terry Beasley. So, and Coach Jordan, I just don't know if there's ever been a finer man as a major college coach in this country. I mean, we talk about John Wooden, and he's an absolute, icon. And Coach Jordan, he didn't win at the level that John Wooden did, but you're talking about military service hero, good dude, great coach, principled gentleman. Showed a lot of loyalty to Auburn. I'm just saying, all the accolades that Pat Dye has received this week and the years prior, he deserves them. I just don't want to. I just get worried myself when I say Pat Dye, greatest coach Auburn ever had. Coach Jordan to me is certainly in that conversation, and I think you could make that argument that he was the best. He did a lot of work too. Also, more sad news on the bunker front is that TOOBS is my coach. A very popular poster on the site passed away. I don't necessarily think it was this week. It might have been late last week. But he passed away, and he was not an old person by any stretch. He was in his 30s, and yeah, very sad situation. I know it's really seems like the bunkers, had a hard time with it because he's a poster, you know what I mean? Like, it's not just some handle you say, hey, I recognize that handle. I mean, that poster, TOOBS is my coach, Matt. He posted a lot, and he would get into it with folks, but I never felt like it was mean-spirited. I just think he was kind of, being antagonistic the way that we do it on the bunker. But, yeah, he's missed for sure. J.S. Lowry has a fundraiser set up on the bunker, and you can check that out if you're so inclined. If you're not, that's cool too. I donated because I think it's the right thing to do. And I know Jeffrey Lee did as well. I'm not trying to call people out. I mean, you do or you don't, and it's cool. But there's been a lot of people that have given a lot of money, and the bunker's incredibly generous. You go back to what Dee Trudeau was going through. Rest in peace to her as well, and how much help that the bunker offered her for her cancer treatments. So, and MD Harold, the outpouring of support for him was incredible. And there were some bunkers that were really working hard behind the scenes to make sure that his wife and his kids had the support they needed at the time. I mean, it's a devastating blow, and they couldn't fix that, the bunker guys, but they did everything they could to help. So anyway, J.S. Lowry's in the chat tonight. Awesome. Your efforts there have been very appreciated. So J.S. Lowry says, we didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things, but he was a good dude. Donations are going straight to his mom. So there you go. A very worthy cause, J.S. Lowry. You're good people for doing that. Because there was a point there where it was like we all want to do something, and we didn't really know how to do it. And you coordinated that and made it happen, and that just says a lot about you, too. Tonight, of course, we're going to be drinking. We're drinking the Long Branch tonight, which is a version of the Wild Turkey, distilled in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky, just outside of Lexington, just southwest of Lexington, about 20 minutes, not too far from Woodford Reserve. I believe Lawrence, I can't remember if Lawrenceburg is in Woodford County or not. But anyway, Long Branch, you can get this. No, I think you can get this at Costco. You can get this in other places too. My man J Dub, who's basically my consigliere, my main man here in Montgomery, hooked me up with this, and we had a little bit, I guess, a couple weeks ago. I think he gave me this for my birthday, and yeah, it's delish. So we're going to be enjoying that tonight. Let me know in the chat what you guys are drinking this evening. That one right there is to TOOBS is my coach. He's definitely missed. I mean, we go a long time, I feel like, between losing bunker members, and you think TOOBS is my coach was a big-time poster, and then MD Harrell. I mean, he had been sick he'd been sick for 2 or 3 years, or maybe even a little bit longer than that, but he had been a voluminous poster prior to, let's say, 2017. I mean, I'm talking many posts per day, like the way Stump Fan does, but maybe topically a little bit different. But yeah, he was an absolute, just giant. And TOOBS is my coach. Same thing. Tough losing folks like that. I mean, Dee Dee, I still think about Dee Dee. I mean, she's missed. I mean, like every single day. Think about the way that she would be able to disarm. I don't know if that's the right word. To quell the arguments that we have on the bunker about the protests that are going on right now. And everybody's kind of got, their positions on it, but Dee Dee would have thrown a cat gif in there, or a dog gif, or a whack-a-mole gif, or something, and it would have just broken the air a little bit. She was so good at that. J.S. Lowry says MD Harrell had been battling for quite a long time. Yeah, he was a really good dude. AU Taxman, who is always with us here on the Brain Drain, says he's drinking the Elijah Craig, barrel proof A120. I have some of that, and while it is very high proof for me anyway, it doesn't slam you in the face the way that that Larceny did. Good God, I think they're approximately the same proof, and that Larceny just knocked me out. My throat hurt for like a week after that. And the Elijah Craig is definitely more smooth. So that's a good pour right there, bro. Daniel N. says, when did MD Harold pass? Wasn't he the preacher? That is exactly who it is. Yes, he was a preacher, among other things. He was a U.S. Army veteran who had been deployed to, well, a bunch of places: Afghanistan, Iraq, Kuwait. He passed away, I would say, Daniel, maybe 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago. He had been battling a type of cancer that is particularly nasty, and he had been he'd gone through chemotherapy and all everything that was possible. And I think about 6 months ago, he just got to a point where it was like, I don't I don't know how much more I can do here, and I just need to kind of get in this gear of I've had a great life, and I'm going to appreciate every day I've got left, and that's how it went. But yeah, super good dude. J.S. Lowry says, every time I see a cat meme, I think of Dee Dee. Yeah, me too, man. We don't see enough of them. You know what I mean? Like, there's not enough of them anymore. Although they've been replaced by some good stuff. I mean, you think about a lot of the, especially the redhead thread. I think Dee Dee would have gotten a kick out of that because I think Dee Dee thought of herself as a redhead. I mean, she had auburn hair. So she would have gotten a kick out of that. Let's see what else we got going on. So Pat Dye passing away and then being buried on his plot there at his farm in Notisolga. Essentially, and this is in Jimmy Rain's words, fertilizing one of the Tumors Oaks. I think he got, some seedlings from the Tumors Oaks and was growing his own oak there. And I think he's going to be buried right there. AU Taxman says it was mid-May. He looked it up. Yes. It wasn't too long ago. Daniel N. says, oh, man, I really hate to hear that. Disagree with him on a lot of things, but he seemed like a genuinely good guy. He really, really was, man. He was super straight up. And a couple times I'd gotten, a little crossways of him, and he was very cool talking about it with me. So no name calling or anything like that. Hornatius says the redhead thread is not professional. Needs to be moved. Me and Hornatius like to joke about how when people get mad at me on the board, their go-to line is that I'm not professional. So if I say something that somebody doesn't like, they say, not very professional, JG. And if you notice, Hornatius will throw that at me in situations where I haven't done anything unprofessional. It's funny, though. Rob D says, I went to Pat Dye football camp when I was a kid. Believe that was 84. Flag football, we were the Steelers. And Coach Joe Witt Sr. was our coach. Awesome times. Yeah, man. I bet you learned something from Coach Witt. He's a hell of a coach. Still hanging around, too. Still hanging around in his cowboy boots and big old belt buckles and stuff. He loves it out there, man. Kind of a tough nut to crack, but really, I mean, you think about how many, he was here for so long and did some serious work. One could argue the best Mobile recruiter in history, regardless of school. He did a lot of work in Mobile. Ravin, one of our all-time favorites, says he's enjoying this 1792 tonight. 1792, we've talked about this on the show, is a tremendous value. They should be charging $15 more per bottle for that stuff. It is high quality. Whether you're getting just the regular stuff or or the yellow bottled and bond or the stuff that AU Taxman is drinking tonight, which is the barrel proof or the full proof, which I believe has like a black label, right? I can't remember. I own some and I don't have it in front of me, but that's just good quality bourbon from Elizabethtown. No, I guess they wouldn't say it was Elizabethtown. I forget what city they would say that's in. Anyway, it's on the road between Lexington and Elizabethtown. Bardstown. Excuse me. Bardstown, of course. Let's see. AU Taxman says if the redhead thread if that thread is moved, Knotted will probably quit again. I didn't know that Knotted had quit the first time. I really didn't. He, I don't know. I talked to him some. Actually, I made a post last night, just kind of just having fun, and I think it was called "A Bunk I Really Like," Knotted Shorts, and kind of did a little soliloquy about why I like Knotted Shorts and why I think Knotted Shorts is a really good member of the site. And as predicted, a lot of folks couldn't handle it. Just getting fussed up about it and telling me to get a room and telling me it was in the wrong board and all that kind of stuff. But it's all good. It's all good. Yeah. Let's see. Corny, our man out west, says he's drinking chilled Hornitos Gold Tequila tonight. Be careful with that, Corny. Tequila, it generally takes you places you don't want to go, has been my experience. It's not as bad as Jägermeister. There's never been a night where I drank Jägermeister where things turned out well. It's never happened to me in my life. And I would strongly suggest that anybody's thinking about drinking Jägermeister just not do that. You're better off drinking some Strawberry Hill or something like that. Some Thunderbird. Let's see. AU Taxman says, are we anticipating another old man three-way tonight? Wow, that's one way to put it. Last week we had a conference call coming in from Papa Bear and Doc Dumpsta and Bull. Bull oft forgotten, but a very, very good poster. Called in, and unfortunately there was some clicking in the background or something. I don't know what was going on. I mean, it might have been somebody's dentures or whatever. And they I had to cut them off prematurely. Probably not the first time that's happened to them. And, yeah, that was it. We got a call coming in. I suspect I know who this is, but we'll let him announce himself. Hey, caller, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
JG, what's going on, man?
Word, who I got on the horn?
This is Against the Spread.
Ah, my man. What's up, bro?
Not much, dude. How you doing?
I'm just, getting started here. It's been a pleasure playing some Call of Duty with you, sir.
I was gonna say, man, it's been fun. It's been a good time. Got some good dudes from the bunker on there.
Yeah, we have a lot more than I thought there would be. There's probably 30 people in the regiment, so we've always got someone to play with.
Yeah, they're all really fun dudes too.
Yeah, I've been surprised nobody's called anybody names or anything yet. The way you would on the bunker,
It's been very friendly for the most part, for sure.
We keep it light.
Even though you totally you kind of screwed me the other night.
How'd I do it?
This probably isn't a super fun story for everybody, but remember you were about to buy me back. You were like, "Hey, Cardea, take this cash real quick and buy him back," and then you just pieced out on us.
Yeah, what happened was somebody, I think it was Locked On, had invited me to a game, and so when I hit the button to buy you back, it interpreted that as me hitting the button to change games, and then I got changed over to the game, and then it quit. So I didn't even get in the game, so it was just bad all around. I'm sorry. That was really lame, and I felt terrible about it. In fact, I messaged you on the site about it.
Yeah. No, all good, man. No worries.
I was like, bro.
I'm enjoying Warzone a lot. It's been awesome during this whole quarantine crap.
How did Coach Dye's passing affect you? I mean, what were your experiences with him or thoughts about him?
He's one of those like larger than life kind of guys in the Auburn sphere, at least, Oh
yeah.
It's like there's a handful of those folks. Like I think we all know the big Auburn names, and he's definitely near the top of that list. And to me, it's like he kind of gave Auburn the persona, if you will, like the underdog persona. Not in the sense that like we deserve to be underdogs, but the underdog that could actually pull it off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, hell yeah.
So that's like a powerful thing that kind of like even to this day, like the Auburn teams that are successful are the ones that kind of have lower expectations flying under the radar, and that's kind of like to me like Pat Dye kind of gave us that underdog that can do it kind of mentality. So when we have high expectations, we don't play the underdog role. We don't do too well.
That's true. So
that's still to this day, and I think it'll kind of live on for a while. It seems like how it goes. But
it seemed like before he took over as coach, like Auburn was still underdogs, and they just kind of took it as like, oh, we're meant to be second division. And he kind of turned
Right.
it around and was like, no, 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 no. You are underdogs, but you're going to start whooping ass. And they did.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, everyone that's been through Auburn has a Pat Dye story in some way, shape, or form, I feel like. So he's, like I said, larger than life kind of persona. So it's going to be hard to move on from that, but he definitely left a lot of memories for people. And hopefully, who knows what's going to happen with crowds this fall, but hopefully when we're able to get the stadium packed out again, we can do something nice. I'm sure there'll be a statue before too long. And
they're already working on that.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, they were before he passed away. And I don't know, something else I was going to ask you about, but I forgot what it was.
So I had a question for you.
One thing before you ask your question. Imagine what would be going on if there wasn't any COVID right now. So Coach Dye passes away. They would have had like a big event in Jordan-Hare Stadium. I bet they would have filled it up at least 75% full. And it would have been one of those really memorable moments. And then instead he gets buried on his plot of land and there's nothing. It's tough to kind of grasp.
And, I think unfortunately, it's hit the bunker directly. And I think everyone has, someone in their lives that's kind of been affected during this period too, where you just haven't been able to have the closure that you probably deserve for a loved one or someone who passed away. And so that's tough, man. And think about TOOBS as my coach, and hopefully anyone else that's going through something similar out there, my thoughts are with you guys, because it's tough, man. I got a close friend of mine whose dad passed away, and he didn't get to say goodbye and won't get to do a funeral and all that stuff. So that's kind of it's rough. But Pat Dye on the grand scale of that, and you're right. I mean, I think Auburn's missing out on a big celebration of life that we would have been able to have.
It'll happen, but it's just going to be delayed.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. You had a question for me. What do you got?
So, I mean, we're in the middle of social justice, crazy pandemic, constant debates, right, on the bunker.
Absolutely.
It's been a wild time. So my question for you was, do you have any examples of an opinion that you held that was changed by a bunker debate? Doesn't necessarily have to be the current events, but just in general, something that you were kind of like firm on, and you read a post or a series of posts, and you were like, you know what, I'm wrong. Here's how I'm changing my mind. I was just curious if that's like a reality for you.
Yeah, I mean, and not politically, just because I'm not very engaged in that. But on Auburn, I think the one that sticks out to me is probably Nick Marshall, where I thought he was a good player, but not superb. And the bunker's there's a lot of people in the bunker that think Nick Marshall's, a GOAT type player. And on face value, I thought that seems a little too far. And then you start really thinking about those teams and why they were so good and why Gus has kind of been sucky except for that period when Nick Marshall was the quarterback. And then you start, Cam Newton, obviously, but he wasn't head coach then. And you start realizing that, he really was pretty badass. I was messed up on it because I knew Nick personally. I went out to Kansas and talked to him, and I've known him, and so I was kind of up with him, and maybe I just didn't see from, as Gene Chizik would say, 10,000 feet what exactly what he meant, but now I do, and so I think my opinion of Nick has changed because of the bunker. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I was one of the idiots who was screaming for Jeremy Johnson to win the job, so that's I definitely ate my crow on that already early on, and kind of jumped on the Marshall bandwagon. So.
Oh, you were pushing for Jeremy Johnson.
That was a disaster. I just remember that first half against Arkansas. Like, was it 2016?
Yeah,
no, 14, something like that.
He'd gotten that pinch hit. He'd gotten like a pinch hit start, and he was really good, right?
Yeah, like 3 or 4 touchdowns in the first half, and I was like, okay, this dude needs to be the man. Disaster. That's interesting, though. I was just wondering, because I feel like there's so many people talking at each other on the bunker, and like I don't see too many people being like, you know what, you're right. I changed my mind about this. And there's been some good threads, though. Like I think Killa Kong had a really good one going the other day.
Finally, we had a good, what I guess you would call racial justice thread that did not get political, did not get name calling. It was just people talking about shit, and that was a great thread, and it stayed on topic, and it's still going, so that's a good one to check out.
Yeah, so that's the kind of stuff that I love to see, and I think I can't imagine what it's like trying to moderate this stuff right now. You guys are doing a great job.
Yeah, I'm not digging ditches. I'm not
and
digging ditches in Afghanistan, so
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure it's causing you to drink a lot more. I definitely would be. But you guys are doing a great job, man. I just want to call and say, hey, thanks for doing the show, and thanks for being a good war buddy on Warzone too.
All right, man. I'll be there.
Enjoy your Saturday night, man.
See you, bro.
Yeah.
There he is against the spread, kicking us off from the 770 area code. Goes by the name Electric Jones on the Xbox, or I guess I should say the Warzone world. And yeah, good player. We have some really good Warzone players. It's really nice. We have so many people playing that I bounce around from team to team, and I get to play with different folks just about every night. Although I play with double Ds most nights, I play with double Ds, and I play with GG32 a lot. But we got a lot of good players. We got some that really suck though. You could make an argument that I'm not very good, and then Cardea is bad, but he knows he's bad. He's at peace with that. Crush says, "Do you really have me on ignore? I love you." I don't think I can even put people on ignore here. I mean, I can just shut people out, but I wouldn't do that. I think one time somebody was using some terse words on here, and I bounced them, but that was it. Okay. Let's see. Corny Mofo says, fist pump means call in, Deezer. Let's bring it, Deezer. I got the line is open for you right now, sir. Assuming you're calling in from North America. Well, I can't guarantee that. Hey, caller, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Mr. JD, it's Deezer 13. How you doing?
What up, Deezer? How you been, bro?
I'm doing great, man. Glad to hear your voice in the midst of all the madness of 2020.
God, this thing has been a freaking disaster, has it not?
Yeah, there have been worse disasters before, probably, that other people have had to deal with. But as far as we're concerned, I would agree with you, my fine sir.
It's just like one thing right after another, you know? I haven't had you on the horn in a minute, bro. You used to call in all the time for football, as I remember, but not lately.
I did, and for basketball as well. I miss. I was talking to BP Lockman. He was taking a little respite from the bunker here.
He is.
Most recently, and it's one of the things that gets us through days. Sometimes it's they're little things. I mean, sports in the grand scheme of things they're small in the enormity of our lives, but there's sometimes you have a rough day and hey, I can go home and watch this game tonight and I'll get through the day, and it makes a difference. But yeah, absolutely, it's been crazy for sure.
Yeah, I'm glad to see you kind of got your right attitude about the bunker. I think there's some people that just get so bothered by it, and the thing is, you got to take it for the humor that it is. You know, it can lift your spirits.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've been on the bunker for any period of time, which if you haven't, then obviously you've given up and you don't get it at all. But there's a level of which you have to be able to reach and understand that there are a lot of very diverse opinions and points of view and different levels of comedic value that people try to portray on there all at the same time. And if you cannot fathom that, then yeah, you're not going to last long. But at the same time, there's a lot of love. There's a lot of great people. There's a lot of people that have stick-to-itness and that treat each other very, very well. So, yeah, it's one of those deals where you either get it or you don't.
Yeah, we got a lot of folks that get it, thankfully. I love the site. I love the tenor of the site. Sometimes it gets a little political, and that pisses me off because we've got a whole board for that. The bunker doesn't need to be that way, but it's kind of a mischievous group, and that's the person I am, and I'm glad we can do that. I know some of the other sites can be a little more straight-laced, and so we get a little mischievous over here, yeah.
Absolutely. I don't know any other sites. I stick straight to my bunker. So
that's what I like to hear. Right
I
there.
appreciate you guys. Absolutely. I mean, you got JG, you got Jay Lee, you got B Matt, you got young Nate. I mean, come on, man.
Young Nate.
There's
my man.
Absolutely.
Anything else jumping out about the Auburn sphere? Anything you want to talk about Auburn related or sports related or hell anything?
Well, I'd love to ask you, just personal opinion wise. I guess this ridiculousness came out earlier today about Oklahoma State, and they're getting crushed about some similar thing. I guess where they're going to lose 1 year of postseason eligibility. If you have any inside info whatsoever at all about where that may fall or not fall, I feel like Auburn's and GM has done a excellent job, and I've not always been a big fan of him. But if you have any insight on that whatsoever, that'd be great to hear about.
Yeah, my thought on this is, I mean, there's no strict answer on that. I mean, I think there's people at Auburn that have the NOI. Or the NOA, excuse me. They have it. They absolutely have it. I mean, I say that as a fact. And they just haven't released it. And some people in the bunker just got their tail feathers all upset about it. But this is the way the world works now. So there are similarities between what Chuck Person did and what the fella did at Oklahoma State. But here's the difference. Oklahoma State, basically, they sat a kid for 3 games, and they were like,
3 games, yeah.
We'll see what happens. And Auburn instead disqualified D'Angelo for like
2 guys out for
forever.
Like 2 freaking years.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that was all orchestrated by Rich McGlynn, who has been on the NCAA side of this stuff, and he knows what the NCAA is expecting to have to punish you with. You're matching the crime with the punishment and stuff. So he went a lot further than Oklahoma State did, and I think when it comes down to it, and they're ready to start sanctioning Auburn, I think that's going to matter. So I think it's going to suck. I think there's going to be penalties that hurt Auburn, but I do not see a postseason ban in the future. No, I don't.
What do you think about like the people that want to post on there and say, and I mean that's what I see. I guess I don't live in Auburn or Alabama anymore, but people who say that they just have it out for Auburn. The
NCAA.
What do you see? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see that. NCAA.
No.
The NCAA has a bad attitude about pretty much everybody except for Duke. They let Duke slide, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
But, they love just
take
being out there.
Stuff away from Duke.
The NCAA just likes being out there kicking ass. I don't know why. They have this absolute fascination with being dicks to everybody. And it's weird to me because they're going to break away. These big ass schools like the SEC and the Big Ten, they're going to break away from the NCAA. It's going to happen in my lifetime. Promise you. Promise you.
And it may happen here sooner than later with all that's going on right now, because if they come out with anything and say anything right now that's going to take billions of dollars away from these schools, they are gonna go away, and they're going to do their own thing.
And Mark Emmert's going to be lording over Boise State and Portland State. I hope he's ready for that.
I don't know if anybody's ready for anything right now, but there are a lot brighter minds than mine that are involved in this, and who knows what's going to happen. I just, like I said when I started talking, I guess I just would love for the little things to come back, and simple people that just go to work and do their things and have some sports to look forward to. Looking forward to that coming back.
It's coming. We're gonna get there pretty soon, Deezer. I promise you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brother, it's a pleasure having you on these airwaves again. And seriously, give us a call back, all right?
Mr. JG, I want to appreciate you again wholeheartedly, and Jay Lee and B Matt and even young Nate and all y'all do awesome stuff and keep us apprised as quickly as you can, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Deezer. I appreciate you being part of the site and calling in the show, dude. That's incredible.
Awesome. You have a great rest of your evening.
See you, bro.
All right, bye.
That's Deezer right there, a super chatter and just an all-around beast. Just basically being very nice tonight. Thank you very much for the nice words, and I mean that when I say you're a badass. Charlie 5, who is going by a different name in here, was before the Deezer call. He'd asked me why I had him blocked, and I said I didn't have anybody blocked on the chat. I do have some people blocked on the bunker, and Charlie 5 is one of them. I probably have 5 people blocked, And the reason that I have Charlie 5 blocked is that I just don't feel like I just don't see any humor in what you're doing. I don't see any value in what you're doing with you just want to rag on people all the time and you want to turn stuff political all the time. And I just got tired of it. You and your boy, your wingman, big time Ob. I just had enough, man. I had enough. So I let Jay Lee handle that. I think you two are the only ones. I'm trying to think. There's a poster that doesn't post very often named AU is it. It's like a black cat is their logo. I blocked him too. I don't know what. Sometimes it's just like, dude, I'm done. But he doesn't post very much. Y'all do post a lot, but I just can't do it. I just can't do it. I don't understand what you're saying. Can we have a mea culpa? I don't really know what that means. Who's we? I mean, I'm just talking about you, bro. And I didn't get. There was a time, and it wasn't like last week or last month or anything. I don't even know what you're posting anymore. But there was a time back in the day when you were like just getting weird about voodoo, and I don't dig it, man. I don't dig it. We got a relationship with voodoo, and as a moderately fat human being who loves eating wings, I'm telling you, their product is really good. And you know that because you eat there some. I know that. So I didn't understand why you were doing that. This is weird. But U Taxman says, Charlie 5 loves telling people they're wrong. Subject doesn't really matter. That's kind of how I see it. Although Charlie 5 is certainly not the only person doing that. I mean, Stump Fan and DM8 love doing that too. And there's other people. Hell, I had somebody trying to sun me the other day. I think it was shoot. Somebody was trying to sun me in that race relations thread, and I haven't taken a position on that at all. Like, I'm just gonna let you guys do what you want to do on that, and he was trying to like get on me for having opinions that weren't backed up by facts, and I was like, dude, I haven't shared any opinions, so I don't really know what you're talking about. Yeah. So, and there's my man right there on cue. Hornatius says, "Not very professional, Jay." There it is. I figured that'd be coming tonight too. That Charlie 5 would go, "Not very professional, sir." God, the Auburn group, man. Such highs and lows with that Auburn group. We used to. I love going to lunch with the different bunker groups. We got an Auburn group. We got a Columbus, Georgia group. We got a big-ass Birmingham group. I know we have a Mobile group that I just haven't been down there. Ironically, a lot of the people that I play with on Warzone are Mobile people. I haven't been to a lunch down there. I've been to a Montgomery lunch. And the Auburn guys it's just kind of highs and lows. So, like, on one hand, you got Charlie 5, not so great. And you got Duffner Fanboy, who's awesome. Like, so, highs and lows. Although I like pretty much all the Birmingham folks. D Lucky says, "Great start against the spread." D Lucky, I was handing out some titles today, and I actually revised a couple. I gave, I changed Mike CB's from Your Bad Uncle to, I think it's Tacos and Bleach is what I changed his to, and I was really gonna try to give you one because you deserve one, and I just couldn't come up with the right words. Because what you're great at is you're great at like. Taking a complicated situation, a thorny situation, and just distilling it down to like 2 sentences. You're really good at that. You've done that with David the Wizard and other issues. And so I just couldn't think of the right phrase or word for that skill. But I will continue working on that, and you will get a title. I just couldn't figure that part out. Love the cats. Hornatius says, "I love Charlie 4. Charlie 5, not so much." Johnny B. Good says, "The Corona Death Bros." They hate being called that, by the way, which is why you're calling them that. Bring it to the table. They really pack a lunch. Yeah, I don't. I made a bad choice of words. In the early times of the COVID outbreak, we're talking in March, I did feel like Stump Fan was just cheering for people to die. Now, he wasn't cheering for people to die. He wasn't sitting there going, "Man, I hope a bunch of Americans die." He didn't say that. He was just like so over the top with his predictions. "Oh, dude, we're going to lose 4 million people. I mean, geez, half the country's going to die." And it's like, okay, first of all, nobody wants that, so let's not even think about it. Like, why are we even talking about it? Like, nobody anywhere says 4 million people are going to die or 2 million or whatever. Like, let's just let it go. You know, let's just let it unfold. And so I said on the bunker, it seems like you're very enthusiastic about people dying, and I shouldn't have said that. That's not a fair. It's not a fair statement, but they ended up kind of being the the Corona death bros, because it seemed like they were cheering people to die, even though they weren't. And they're still kind of going at it. They don't have that same edge to them, but they certainly do have the same volume. And DM8 and Stump Fan really love going at it. And another entrant into that whole fight is the War Eagle Kine. I don't know what he's doing. Like, he's like kind of related to the Corona Bros, but he's kind of out on his own. Like, I don't really know, but he's really bringing it, man. I don't know what's going on with that. Brandon Sparks says, "Dear Diary is where the good threads go to die." Yeah, it depends on what your interpretation of good is. Those are generally threads that are dealing with social issues that Karen talks about on Facebook, and people are. The way that I look at that is they're generally threads that are started to get people angry or to elicit anger. Mostly intentionally, but sometimes not. But I mean, if we're gonna you're gonna start a thread and be like, "Hey, abortion, yay or nay?" Like, come on. We know where that's going. Hey, in light of all these protests, I'm really against people shooting cops. Well, yep. Yeah, I think everybody's aligned on that. I think we all agree that cops should not be shot. There's a lot of people that shouldn't be shot, pretty much everybody. So it's just kind of one of those deals. I don't know. I thought we needed a Dear Diary. And I thought it was actually kind of prescient, because that was before George Floyd, that whole situation came about. It was just still kind of a problem. Non-political social commentary is what I would put there. Shockers Ace says, "Where's the die statue being placed?" As far as I know, it's at Jordan Hare. I have not had that conversation with Alan. However, I did have a conversation with Alan about that die statue, about it happening, but I didn't get as far to discuss with him about where it was going. Let's see, Charlie 5 says, "Jay, I will give you my 2018 Future Cast Champion T-shirt if we can be friends." Charlie, bro, look, man. First of all, we know what the score is with your future casts, and what they ought to do is they ought to give you extra points for having picked the right person way ahead of time instead of right before they commit, because that's what you were doing. You were taking the easy money by picking them right before they committed. Second of all, you don't want to be friends with me, so stop with this charade. Got our first super chat coming through tonight from Sir Hornatius. Says, "D Lucky's title should be not a wall poster." I don't know. I don't know on that one. Not sure how I feel about that one. I don't understand what Pocket Watch. I don't know why YouTube said that needed to be. Sometimes you guys will post things on here, usually with cuss words, and I have to actually clear them to come through the chat. Pocket Watch types, "The War Eagle Kind is straight crazy," and they held that for review. I don't know why. It doesn't seem that bad. Here's another one. Charlie 5 says, "Daniel, I will fight you in the throat." They wanted that to be blocked. I don't know why. That seems pretty tame to me. Corey W says, "Evening, everyone," to which Corny says, "Everyone?" Yeah. Like for everyone to have a nice evening. My man Ed D, who always loves being on topic, says, "JG, other than utilizing the tight end, what else can we expect from a Chad Morris offense?" Interesting. Well, that's a great question. I think in the long run, you're going to see more running from the quarterback. I think in the long run, you're going to see more. Well, you talked about the tight end, but you're going to see more middle of the field passing, which is something that Gus statistically is allergic to. I don't think that he feels like he's allergic to it, but you look at the numbers and they tend to throw outside a lot more than they should or could or would. I think that they're going to pace more. I don't think he's crazy about pace. the way that Gus was in the beginning, but Gus is slowed down to the point where it's like it's almost humorous that he has the copyright, that he's copyrighted the phrase "hurry up, no huddle" because they don't hurry up. And I bust his balls about it, and it's like almost like a meme between he and I. Although his new one is that he rags on me for living in Montgomery, not because I live in Montgomery, but because he doesn't understand why I'm not in Auburn. And he'll, like, every time we're on a Zoom or whatever, he's like, "You still Montgomery?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's where I work from, but that's where I work, He just like, "Why aren't you in Auburn?" I'm like, "Because I don't need to be in Auburn. Like, you guys are shut down and stuff." "Well, did you come to the games last year?" I'm like, "No, I didn't. I did a show after every game. And I got it, I got to be on the air, within about 20 minutes of the game being over." "So you don't go to the games?" I'm like, "No, they're on TV, guys. And then I can talk to you and Kevin or whoever about what's going on." Just, he's a good dude, though. I like Gus. I know you guys don't like him mostly because he annoys you by what he does on the field, but he's a good dude. I would not, like with Gene Chizik, I don't think he's a good dude. But Gus is. Because Gus doesn't lie. Gus doesn't lie to me. He doesn't lie to anybody, really. Except when he says, we're going to go fast, and they're not. But, I mean, that's not really lying, right? That's just like gamesmanship. I think I missed something over here. Brandon says, Jay has me, AU Pooch, figured out on my posts he sent to Dear Diary, mostly posted to stir the pot. I mean, it's pretty easy to tell, bro. I mean, it's nothing personal, unless I tell you it's personal, but it's not really. I gotta admit, it was a little bit shady the other day when Ruxy Poo, and I think he was just kidding, but he said something about how he was gonna try to bed my sister or something like that. I know he's kidding, but I was like, dude, my sister's been dead since 2016, so good luck. That was kind of weird. I don't think he knew that. I think he was just kind of playing around. But it was kind of odd. And I think some people on the board took notice and were like, "What the hell was that?" That's just, it happens. I mean, you never know, I mean, people who've been around a long time know that my sister died because I talked about it in the bunker, and you guys probably pay attention to that a little bit. But, he hadn't been around forever. Oh, boy. Here we go. We're in the so if you remember, AU Taxman said that Charlie 5 lives to tell people they're wrong, and sure enough, he says, "You are wrong again, AU Taxman." To which AU Taxman says, "Charlie 5, you're proving my point." And then Crush says, "I haven't proved anything wrong again." AU Taxman says the Chad Morris offense will be on full display as long as we have a 17-point lead. I think there is something to that. Malzahn, as of this moment, he is fully committed to letting Chad have essentially full autonomy of the offense, okay? And we know from recruiting that there's been a major change in the kinds of players they're going after. I mean, DD, the quarterback, Demetrius Davis from Houston, I don't think he would have been a kid that Gus would have gone after himself. But Chad was like, "I want that kid, and we're getting his ass here." And, because Demetrius is 5'11", we'll call him. And he's a true dual threat. I mean, he's a very gifted runner. I don't necessarily think he's a home run runner, but he's good. He's at least Ryan Davis in the open field. And I thought Ryan Davis was pretty damn good in the open field. And then he's got some real throwing ability. So I just don't think that's the guy Gus would have gone and gotten. Hornatius says, "My mom is dead, and it didn't stop him from trying." Damn him, Ruxy Poo. Why would you do that? Ed D says, "I wish the offense would be like the we had in the Mississippi State game. Running the ball and throwing to wide receivers who make plays in the air." Well, I mean, how many receivers can make plays in the air, though? I mean, Seth can. We know that for sure. Eli Stove? I wouldn't trust him to do that. Shedrick? Maybe. I think that Shedrick is more like Jalen, I can't remember his name now. Jalen that played here maybe 5 years ago from Birmingham. Dad was in the Army. Really liked him. Great blocker, tough player, mentally tough, physically tough. Not a big element of the pass game. Yeah. Ed Darby thinks that there's some equivalency between Nick Marshall and Demetrius Davis in the open field. I can see that. I can definitely see that. Nick Marshall was a little taller though. He was probably 6'2". This kid's a little shorter, but that's fine. Dude, height is an attitude, right? Eric Zier wasn't very tall, and he's pretty damn good. Just saying. David Green. Of course, that's two Georgia guys. You know what I mean? Sean White. Whatever. Ruxpin in the house says, sup players. Word, Ruxy Poo. Love the Cat says Demetrius Davis, the quarterback they have committed, isn't super fast, but he's quick and shifty. He absolutely is. And he also rises to the challenge when the games get tight. He's proven that time and again. And I think that's a trait, I guess you would call it, that I didn't properly respect earlier in my career. I just get so caught up in height and arm strength and all that, but the ability to just kind of rise to the challenge time and again, that's worth a lot, man. And I do want to say, I was having this conversation with administrative assistant the other day when she found out that Jarrett Stidham looks like he's going to be the starter for the Patriots. She was like, is Jarrett Stidham good? I was like, yeah, I think so. And then she was like, well, when he played at Auburn, he wasn't. I was like, yeah, you're pretty much right. Not that he was bad. He wasn't what I thought he was going to be. He wasn't as good. You guys may disagree. And it's weird to me to think he's going to be the quarterback of the New England Patriots, but they know what they've got in him. They've had him 2 years. Obviously, Belichick has some belief in the kid. I know he's got some skills. I know he's got some arm strength and some awareness stuff, but my question on Jarrett Stidham would be kind of what I was talking to you about just a minute ago, is why I brought it up, which is, does he rise to the challenge? The way we would have called it in my high school is, do you sack up? And it seemed like he would get tighter in the tough situations rather than really flourish. But small sample size, and you could make a lot of arguments that there was a lot of stuff working against him at Auburn. I thought that was really the peak of when Gus got weird with his play calling, and then the offensive line was pretty iffy. And, it's not his fault when he's got 1.5 seconds to diagnose and throw the ball. So, I don't know. Pachuta, our newest member, or one of our very newest members, says Stidham was misused at Auburn. Gus forced him in a QB situation he didn't fit. Agreed. I do agree with that. And I suspect that Chad Morris agrees with that too, because he was a big Stidham fan. And he's going players that can run a little bit more. Jarrett Stidham's not a runner. He is kind of elusive in the pocket, but he's not a runner. Demetrius Davis is the kind of guy that you feel like he's going to rush for, 600 to 800 yards a season, and be a benefit in the run game. And it really affects linebackers when you've got a quarterback that's a legitimate run threat, because those guys you can't gamble as much with your linebackers or your ends when you've got to have people that have to contain him. You have to pay attention to that a lot more than you do with Stidham. Ryan D. echoes that sentiment, since Stidham was playing in the wrong offense at Auburn. We will see what happens with I am very interested in seeing what Jarrett Stidham can do as the starter for the New England Patriots. I can't really say I would be floored either way, where if he sucked, I'd be like, yeah, I thought he was kind of sucky. And if he was really good, I'd be like, yeah, I thought he was really good. It was just a weird situation for him at Auburn. I wonder if he feels kind of sad about how that worked out for him, But one thing about him is he has great work habits. He has an extremely professional demeanor about him, and he just approaches the game with a very mature, nuanced approach. I'm sure that Belichick loves that about him. He's a guy that just he understands his role as a leader, and he understands his role as someone who needs to spend more time than anybody else studying and getting to know the nuances of various things, and not even just what he does, but what everybody does. He gets that, so he's very easy for a coach to appreciate. And once again, I want to thank Pachuta. I actually met Pachuta playing Warzone. He is one of Cardea's friends, and Cardea, I think, gave him the hard sell and was like, yo, this site, auburnsports.com, is awesome. You need to come check it out. And Pachuta did and is now a member of the site. So let's welcome him to the show. Well, you know what I mean. The proverbial show. He's good people. I know this. He likes to have fun. Let's see. Hornacia says, Nick Marshall's one of the greatest players ever to wear the orange and blue, but will never get the respect he deserves. Where do you rank him, Jay? We were just talking about this when Deezer asked me about that. He's definitely moved up my list. That's for sure. He's not Cam Newton, and he's not Pat Sullivan. He might be right there after that, which is weird to think about. I don't know. I just knew him. I knew Nick. It's just hard, I guess, to kind of appreciate what he was doing just because I knew he was good. But at that time, maybe I was just thinking that Gus just really had something that nobody else had, that like he had figured something out that nobody else had. And I mean, you guys got to admit that 2013 team was making people look silly. I mean, these defenses just didn't know what to do. They really didn't have any great ideas on how to slow Auburn down. And here we are, 7 years later, and people have some really good ideas on how to slow Auburn down. Well, that whole concept, that whole offensive concept. So, I don't know. Let's see. There's some conversations going on here. There's a great conversation right here. It's not really appropriate. I mean, it's appropriate, but it's not on task for us here. But AU Taxman says, are these idiots in Major League Baseball trying to kill off an already dying sport? Man, I cannot tell you how many times I've been talking about this with folks. Like, can you believe how badly MLB is shitting the bed right now? Like, it's summer in America. I know some of you may disagree with me saying this, but I don't think the COVID-19 outbreak has been as bad as we thought it was going to be. I think for the most part, it's manageable. For the overwhelming majority of people that get it, it's a manageable situation, right? I mean, we don't want people getting it, ideally, but it's really not as bad as we thought it was going to be. And I personally, myself, not that my opinion matters, but I think social distancing is a good thing, and I think in the stadiums they're going to do it, and I support that idea. But why is Major League Baseball not playing? The answer is that they're fussing over money. They're fussing over, okay, if we're going to get paid per game, then the players are going to want to play more games, and the owners are going to want to play less games, and so they can't figure out what to do. But it's summer. It's June. This is when Major League Baseball has its shot to just win some freaking fans. You know what I mean? This is it. I mean, June and July. And you could argue August, although August you start getting into preseason NFL, and you've got college football winding up, and people are kind of scatterbrained on that. So you really got June and July, and they're just absolutely making an ass out of it. And I don't want to sit there and say the players are the worst or the owners are the worst. You guys just got to figure this out. And I'm skeptical they're going to play it all, and it's going to be a travesty. It's going to be a freaking travesty. Unbelievable. And I remember how much I cared about MLB. Now it's just kind of like, meh. I mean, it's been like that for me the last 5 years, but now I'm just really just bummed. Like, come on, guys. And what they've done to the minor leagues, it makes me sick. They've just been waiting for something. They've been waiting for something to come along where they could just punch the hell out of the minor league systems, and they got it, and they did it. Pisses me off. Ed Darby says Nick Marshall was the bomb. I think that's a fair sentiment. Yes, he was quite awesome. And I also think about how he played with Kentavious Caldwell Pope so much when he was growing up. He and Kentavious Caldwell Pope, who played at Georgia, who is now in the NBA. I think he plays with the Lakers now. I think so. Yeah. They were like the two best basketball players in the state of Georgia. And they would go head-to-head in the state tournament. Nick playing for a pretty rural team. KCP also playing for he's not playing for a big-time team. They would just go at it. And to think that Nick Marshall was, the second best player in the whole state in basketball, and he ends up being a great football player. He's an incredible athlete. Incredible. Let's see. Charlie 5 still out here telling people they're wrong. The Taxman could not be more wrong. Corny, I'm not going to repeat what you just said there, but that was very mean. Even though I'm not a big fan of Charlie 5, I don't think you should bring his mom into this. Ed D says Michael Jordan made the triangle look good without him. It's not that great. Just like the Malzahn offense with Cam Newton and Nick Marshall. You could make that argument. Absolutely. I would probably make that argument right along with you. But my question, and I always ask this, and I don't get a good answer, is if that is the case, and we can all see that, why didn't he see that? Why does he go out there and go with Shaun White? Why does he go out there with Clint Mosley? And Jarrett is better than those guys by a significant margin, but I would still argue that Jarrett wasn't great. And you could also make the argument right now that Bo Nix isn't that great for that system. I think Bo Nix is an incredible competitor, and I think he's exactly the kind of kid you want at quarterback. Yes, he's got some really good traits, and many of you believe, like I do, that he's going to be an outstanding player at Auburn. He's just a really good player. I mean, he's just really good. And he's going to be really good for Auburn because he's the kind of kid in a locker room that he's the guy that you want to have some influence in that locker room because he's going to use it the right way. He knows what he's doing. But, he's not really a runner. He's a good escape artist. The first half of the season, he did it too much. Spent too much time running in situations where he should have stepped up into the pocket. But, he got a lot better. He really did. And, the reason that there's a lot of different reasons why they won the Iron Bowl, which is, to me, one of the most entertaining games I've ever seen, and one I'll never forget. The big reason they won that Iron Bowl was because Bo had learned by that point that you don't just flee the pocket out the backside. You step up. And he stepped up a bunch in that game, and they gave him a chance to make some throws. I remember he made a clutch-ass throw to Booby over the middle to convert like a 3rd and 12 near midfield, third quarter. Huge play, and it was a play that he was not capable of making in September. He made incredible progress. But I still have questions. Georgia Rebel says KCP is from Greenville, Georgia. I did not know that. Good stuff. Also glad to have you, Georgia Rebel. Glad to have you on the show. One of our friends from Rebel Grove, but nonetheless an outstanding chatter and just member of the crew here. Thank you for being part of this. Ed D says Alabama 6A football is going to be a dog fight this year. Looking forward to that. Love to see some high school football, at least the highlights anyway. And Pachuta says MLB has gotten greedy, no longer about the fans. Yeah. I think you're right about that. If you think about it, dude, baseball is flagging a little bit, I think, behind, and the NBA has made so many. You think about, man, so I'm 48, and when I'm in high school, I really did like the NBA, but I didn't see much of it. For me, I was in Tulsa at the time, so we would see the Mavericks games on whatever channel that was out of Dallas. I forget what it was. So anyway, we'd see the Mavericks games, and you didn't see necessarily all that many national games. And the NBA was just kind of like a niche thing. Like, you'd almost like if you had a friend that watched the NBA, you'd be like, oh shit, like that's something we can kind of huddle about and stuff. But I think it's a lot more widespread now. There's a lot of just casual NBA fans now, where I didn't feel like there were hardly any in the 80s. So that has made a huge step forward, to their credit. And to me, Major League Baseball has gone the other direction. Back in the 80s, everybody followed baseball to some degree, and now it's kind of like, oh, really? They're playing? Is it the Yankees, I guess? You're like, no, not really. Deezer says, JG's the bomb. Love you, old man. Rich420, first of all, thank you for your super chat last week. Awesome to see you jumping in like that. Says, thoughts on Gus not letting the quarterbacks call an audible. Well, I think that's something you're going to see changing. Did not give Bo a lot of leeway on that last year, but he's a true freshman. And even though, in my opinion, once you got into November, he had proven himself capable of making some diagnostic decisions. At least that's what I saw. Gus didn't feel that way, and so he didn't give him much leeway on that. But I don't know, true freshman, I can't hate on Gus too much for that. And you think about that Florida game, and we've talked about this before on the show, like, it's my opinion, and Gus did not agree with me on this, and that his opinion matters a million times more than mine does. I didn't think that once you got into the second half of the Florida game, I didn't feel like Bo Nix was capable of winning that game. I just didn't think mentally he was in a place where he was going to win that game. And I think the mistake that he made with the interception in the end zone where Gus went all the way full down doing this, I mean, proof that I could never be a football coach because I would absolutely lose my mind. I would kick my clipboard into the stands. And two, like, he was just, I didn't think that he was in the right headspace for that. I didn't think he was. And I've asked Gus repeatedly, like, why didn't you play Joey Gatewood? And he was like, because I thought Bo could do it. I know Bo can do it. It sure didn't look like that to me. We got another super chat coming through from Hornatius, who would like for me to take a shot of this Long Branch, which I gladly will. Love me some Long Branch. And I also love me some Hornatius. He's a dude who gets it, man. He just gets the bunker. Well, we got a lot of folks that get the bunker, but he's one of them for sure. Also, a big super chat coming through from Ryan D. Again, that's at least the second consecutive week for you. Thank you, sir. I appreciate your support. It says, for the junk in the bunk. Boom! Thank you for your support of the show, sir. And for just kind of being around. Hanging around, too. I'm gonna hold that one from you, Hornatius. That was a little bit rough. Ruxpin, that's mean right there. It says, I'm praying the murder hornet invites his buddies and comes back for you, Charlie. Oh, my goodness, that's mean. Georgia Robles says, our true freshman quarterback couldn't call audibles either, talking about John Reese Plumlee, who is himself an incredible athlete, plays baseball over there, and you could make the argument he's a better baseball player than he's a football player. He's pretty damn good at football. Gus and his guys were really hoping to sneak him through as a preferred walk-on at Auburn. They just weren't sure about giving him a scholarship, but he had agreed to come to Auburn as a PWO, and then they were just really trying to hide him because they thought they could sneak him through. You know, it's almost like getting a guy through waivers, and Ole Miss is like, nah, we need to offer this kid a scholarship, which I think it's the right play, and I think he's going to end up doing great things at Ole Miss. But apparently they weren't giving him a lot of leeway either, which I wouldn't have. True freshman, come on, you don't want to give him too much. Deezer says, JG, do you think we are better off saving the last basketball scholarship for 2021? I do. That's a great question. At this point, probably. Unless they know something that I don't about a kid somewhere that they could pick up. But, you know, with Kuminga apparently going to go ahead and reclassify and then go to the G League, essentially off the table now. You know, the kid from Utah, you know, I don't think he's coming to Auburn. I think they would take him for sure. So I don't see that. I'm with you. I think you're fine to eat the scholarship, and I think they're fine with eating it. They like the team they've got. I have questions about shooting guard, but whatever. They like the team they've got, and they're absolutely ecstatic about these kids they pulled in. I mean, Sharif Cooper's a beast. I was going to call him Thonmaker. Golly. Thor is really good. The kid from West Memphis, they love him. Absolutely love him. And I think we all agree that Jalen showed some things last year, that he's got some special abilities. I don't think he's a Chuma, because Chuma's just a freak of nature, but I think he's going to give you that inside-outside presence at the 4, give you some physicality, and also be a good three-point shooter with that lefty stroke, by the way. So they like what they've got. And I think Stretch is going to be good, too. So, yeah, I would eat it. And I think they'd be fine if it comes down to that. Let's see, Ed D with another on-topic question. Here's the question. In the off-season, does Malzahn go out to other schools to learn more about offenses? He has a lot to learn about the spread, passing game, and scheming. No, he does not do much of that. In fact, I don't know as though he does any of that. As far as learning about offenses, I think he has conversations with his crew, which would be Chad Morris, obviously. I would have said that before he got hired here. Norvell, Jake Spavital. I feel like there's one more I'm missing. You guys might remember. Starting to wonder about my brain a little bit. Sometimes I just forget names. Shouldn't do that. Not that old. So, yeah, it's those three, really. You know, Gus doesn't have a real big circle of trust, but Chad Morris is at the middle of it, so I'm sure they have conversations about it. And Chad is a much better networker than Gus is, so I think that he can probably bring it along a little bit better. And say, hey, there's this guy out at Arizona State or a guy at Oregon State who's doing this, this, and this. And that'd be like, oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I like that. It's pretty cool. Oh, okay. Ryan D says, this is the Rye guy. One of our newer posters. Glad to have you as part of the, I think you jumped in last week on the bunker, so we appreciate you coming on board, bro. Corey W. says, Ed, we can only wish Gus would do something that brilliant and kind of. I mean, I don't know. Listen, man, I mean, Gus was at the very forefront of this hurry up, no huddle stuff, so he's done some out of the box thinking. He probably needs to do a little bit more, but now he's got Chad to do that for him. And let's see, Sausage Broker, a.k.a. Gavin08, says Eli Drinkwitz. Not sure that Eli would be one that Gus would go to talk about things. It would be more the other direction. I mean, because Eli's like half his age. Yeah. Ed D says, who has the better passing attack, Auburn or Navy? You guys are killing me. Let's see what's going on here. Got some text that had come through there, and I've just been babbling. I don't mean to. Need to get somebody on. We need to get Jay Lee on the horn. Let's see if he wants to hop on here in a minute. I also need to check on check with my guy about testing. You know, Auburn football, I was going to put this on the crawl, but I felt like it should probably be just dedicated to Coach Dye right now. Football kids started coming in 2 days ago, and they got tested yesterday. So we've been kind of waiting on the test results. And I was going to see, you know. I was going to see if I could find out a little something on that, just to see how the test came back. You know, Alabama was found to have 5 kids that tested positive, so they'll just put them into a like a quarantine dorm and for a couple weeks, and then they'll be fine. They'll be good to go. I mean, you'd say the law of averages would suggest that Auburn would probably have some positive tests, but you know, I'm just kind of waiting to see. Okay. Okay, what should we oh, come on, Charlie. That's not very nice. Pachuta says Gus is set in his ways, unwilling to accept the league has surpassed him. It's frustrating. I was going to say something there, but I decided not to. Rich 420, again, super chatting again. I know you were there last week for us as well. Thank you very much. GTGJ. The daughter wants to play Fortnite. Don't judge me. That's cool. My daughter plays FIFA, so it's all good. Fortnite's, it's not my jam, but I watched my friend J Dub has a son that plays it, and he's incredible with it. I like watching him play, but I'm not interested in that. God bless you guys. Doing a hell of a job. Anything you can do to kind of connect with your kids, I think is always a good idea. Unless it involves drinking alcohol and they're underage. That's probably not a great idea. Let's see. Hornacia says, will Auburn make public the number of positive tests? That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I'm trying to find out. Pocket Watch says, what happened at Florida State? Wow, man, what an absolute disaster that was, right? Mike Norvell, one of Malzahn's proteges, I guess you could say, who's the coach at Florida State, first-year coach, by the way, for reasons that no one will ever understand, just randomly said that I have spoken or communicated with, when I said I've spoken with or met with individually every single player on my football team to talk about Black Lives Matter or race relations or what I need to do or what I can do, et cetera, et cetera. To which one of his big players was like, this is bullshit. This did not happen. we're not going to work out until you get this rectified or whatever. I mean, it was pretty serious. And then within a day, right, the player was like, all right, we had a talk. It's all good. Back to normal. Let's go Knowles, you know. It was such an incredibly bad look for Mike Norvell, and it was so, like, avoidable. Like, it wasn't like he was thrust into the corner and had to answer. Like, he just willingly came out and lied. Like, I just, a totally avoidable punch to the chin. I don't understand why he would do that. And also Ed Darby says Jake Fromm, banger. Yeah, Jake Fromm, that was kind of happening in real time. We tape the podcast on Thursday, where someone had been circulating on social media a text, what was purported to be a text conversation with Jake Fromm, where he said that they should raise the price of guns or ammo or both so that only the elite whites can afford it, and that will solve the problem, which I didn't really know what problem he was talking about. And obviously some faulty logic there. And I thought that could have been a Photoshop situation, but he came right out and said, yeah, I said that, and I need to do better. Surprised. I don't even really know what to say to that. That's just strange. Alpha Tiger in the house is sup swoogans. I hope you're using swoogan in the correct way there, sir. Even though that's a word that you may have made up yourself. Let's see. If Auburn, this is Hornatius speaking, if Auburn has fewer positives than Bammer, they will release the number. If more than Bammer, they will quote privacy policies. You're probably not far off on that. Let's see. A sausage broker, Latrell Neville to the good guys. That's a question for Jay Lee. And now Crush is making jokes about hydroxychloroquine. Great. Ed D says Dabo lost a lot of respect from me. That is probably a reference to the fact that a position coach at Clemson, not sure which one because I don't really keep up with them. They're not even in the SEC, so I don't pay attention. Was accused on social media by one of his players or former players of using really bad racially charged pejoratives. And the coach was like, yeah, I did that and I shouldn't have, and that's my bad. And it was reported to Dabo at the time, and he apparently didn't do much about it, didn't do anything about it that anybody could see. Maybe he had a talking to with the coach, but nothing really came of that. And that's yeah, not good enough. There was some, years ago. That happened at Auburn years ago. I want to say in the early 2000s. There was a, he wasn't a coach, though. I don't think of him as a coach. Staffer that was accused of having used insensitive language. And he was gone in a hurry. Just, I don't know, man. I don't know. Strange world we live in. It's strange today. It was strange 20 years ago. There's just weird stuff about it. Ed D says Dabo wouldn't let his players protest in 2016 too. Ay. Ruxpin says Jake Fromm, LOLOL, what a swoogan. Oh, man. Let's see. Alpha Tiger says Woodson Ba? I don't know. You're probably saying or. Woodson or Al Pogue. Who would I prefer? Seemed like Woodson was a big loss. Obviously he's gone, but all things equal, who would you prefer? I can't answer that honestly because I've known Al for 20 years. So I like Al. I like Woodson too. Woodson was so good in Mississippi, and he's just good everywhere. One of the things I liked most about Marcus Woodson is that he was a very grounded individual. Straight shooter, very little bullshit. Just kind of on task all the time. Like that about him. It's great to have guys like T. Will who are so, I use the word evangelical. He just comes across as a preacher. You know what I mean? Like he's just got such incredible enthusiasm and he just appeals to the masses. And And you need guys like that. That's what Al Pogue is like. Al's great talker, huge motivator, enthusiastic dude, like in the Trooper Taylor mold, the way that Troop was like. But you got to have guys like that, but you also need the guys on the other side that are just, you know what I mean, that are straight talkers. And obviously Cody Burns, that's all he knows is straight talking. And Marcus Woodson was a guy that could do a lot of that too. Rodney Garner's good at that. So you need to have a mix. If you, we said this on the rundown. I believe, and I know that Jay Lee and BMAT agree with me. This is the best staff Gus ever had. And losing Woodson hurt, but you add Chad Morris and you add Al Pogue, and I think those are two guys that are going to be. You don't necessarily feel the return on Al Pogue yet because, he's out there. He's recruiting a lot of Bucks right now. He's coaching Bucks. And he hasn't pulled them in yet. But, I mean, we're very early in the recruiting cycle. We'll judge him, in February and see what he's pulled in by then. But I think that Chad Morris is going to be a revelation. I think he's going to absolutely unlock all the potential that we've always felt like Auburn had. I think he's going to find a way to do it. And I do think that Gus is going to get out of his way. Ed Darby says, I don't think anyone has been fired quicker than Mike Price. Yeah, that's true about that. Back in those days, I was working at the Montgomery Advertiser when he got fired, and they actually sent me down to Pensacola to try to figure out what the hell just happened down there. Because basically he went out for like a night with some strippers or something. He had one of those nights. He had a bender, and we were trying to get to the bottom of it, and I happened to pick the wrong joint. I was at Sammy's. And it ended up that Mike Price had been at Artie's Angels across town. So I picked the wrong one. But I did get correct that he had retired to the, I don't remember if it's a Hilton or a Marriott, the big tall hotel there. Right where all that was going down. And that he had the girls up in his room and got room service and all that. I was able to get that. Got half the story. Just the other half, AL.com beat me on it. Good for them. Mike Perrin is the guy who beat my ass on that. No, why do I remember that stuff? I don't know. All right, we're going to get Jay Lee on the horn. You might know him as Sir Jay Lee. Sir Jeffrey Lee. Alpha Tiger says they prefer to be called exotic dancers. Don't be so insensitive. I am sorry. Exotic dancers. They're so exotic.
Hello, Bandy.
Hey, Jeffrey, what's going on, bro?
Oh, hey, what's up, man?
Word, man. How you been, brother?
Oh,
Hey, have you ever heard the name Latrell Neville?
I'm looking at his page right now, yes.
What do you think?
Good-looking kid. Light skin complexion. Eyes are symmetrical.
Symmetrical's good, yeah.
I like his fade. Pretty lips. Real pretty lips. Also, he's currently uncommitted to any school.
How about that?
Presently. What's the difference between presently and currently, JG?
Very little.
That's what I thought.
I would say currently myself, but.
Oh, okay. Yes.
You need to be, Jeffrey, you need to be knighted. You should be Sir Jeffrey Lee, like officially, in my opinion.
Has that not happened?
Well, not that I know of. Do you have any documentation?
No, but if anybody can make it happen, I feel confident you can.
Okay, I'm working on it, bro.
But yes, Neville. I was sitting here thinking that since I guess the rundown Thursday night, there's been three happenings in the recruiting trail, at least in regards to Auburn, worth noting. Latrell Neville being the most recent. When Sam was actually the first guy to bring this to the board, I think back in April, when he first mentioned Demetrius Davis and Latrell Neville. And, of course, Demetrius ended up decommitting from Virginia Tech and later committing to Auburn, I think about a week later. When that happened, we had heard that Neville was likely to join him. So this is not a surprise that he's no longer committed to Virginia Tech. The timing is a little confusing to me because I think I did the top 5 wide receivers or 5 top wide receivers Wednesday or Thursday, and Neville was number 6. I kind of felt like Auburn was being patient with him, which is why we hadn't heard him decommit. I didn't think he would decommit without knowing he had a spot. So for him to decommit today got me going as far as putting in some calls, some feelers, putting some feelers out. I have yet to hear back from any. This has been about an hour and a half ago.
Yeah.
So still waiting to hear back on that. But his decommitment at least makes me a lot more interested in what's going on with Auburn. I kind of felt like they had some other guys, just a couple of big time elite guys. From what my gathering is, Auburn wants a slot guy in this class. They want an outside guy in this class. Anybody other than that, or anything more than that, would be bonus. Christian Leary, Rashard Smith, both being the top 2 slot guys. Neville being probably Adonai Mitchell's, I would guess, would be number 1. He's committed to committed to Ole Miss. Malcolm Johnson's a speedster. But everybody's coming after him. I kind of thought Neville might be number 3 spot on the outside. But if Auburn's not filling their chances on those first 2 guys, and they can go ahead and wrap up Neville, I could see them making the push.
Yeah.
I hope to know the next 24 hours on that. So definitely Neville has been one to keep an eye on. It certainly is one now in the next few days. But last night, Lake McCree, the second thing I noticed recruiting-wise was Lake McCree, the tight end, from Texas, was down to USC and Auburn. And we've talked about this several shows, several times, but it kind of came to a conclusion last night when he committed to USC, which was expected because from what I've been told, Auburn had kind of wanted one of the 2 of him and Landon King, the other tight end from Texas, and had made a push harder for Landon King. So we were really expecting McCree to USC and Landon King at some point in the near future to Auburn. So that kind of came to fruition. Then this morning, Xavier Sori, who's a big, he's listed as an athlete. Auburn likes him as an inside linebacker, arguably Auburn's top inside linebacker. Now that Barrett Carter is committed to Clemson, came out with a top 5 and all SEC top 5, which included Auburn. So I thought that was of note for Auburn fans. So those 3 things really in the last 24 hours, definitely some things to note to keep eye on.
I don't understand why Lake McCree wants to go to Los Angeles, but I hope he gets caught in a traffic jam out there and regrets his decision.
To be fair, I really don't think he did. And anytime a school misses out on somebody, the beat guys, the recruiting guys get blamed for pumping sunshine. But I really do think if Auburn had made a bigger push for him instead of King, I think Auburn could have gotten one of the 2, and they chose King, and McCree chose USC as a result.
Well, it happens. And, again, if they get Landon King, they're going to feel really good about their haul at tight end. Plus Brandon Frazier.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, they got what they need. We were talking earlier in the show, and you talked about this on the rundown as well, but we'll bring it up again. Auburn's got one scholarship left, basketball-wise. They've chased a few guys that have gone elsewhere. At this point, do you think they're going to end up eating that?
I mean, I think it's a possibility. I've written that, I think, for the past 4 or 5 weeks. Even before Mac McClung, I was saying, listen, it's a real possibility is Auburn just holding the scholarship, either for a mid-year guy or using it for the 2021 class, the 2021 class. So that's a real possibility. Now, would they prefer to have a 1-year guy that's immediately eligible to come in for that 2 spot that they really need to fill with some experience? Absolutely. I know Jay has mentioned this several times on the bunker and on this show that, and he's real dialed in with basketball recruiting, that, there's going to be guys coming out of the draft, taking their name out of the draft. There's going to be more transfers. There's going to be a lot more options come available between now and, the start of the season or the start of the fall semester. So it's tough to say right now. It's really a tough, to have a definitive answer. Yeah. It's almost impossible because so many things are fluid at this point. But yes, holding that scholarship to 2021 is definitely a viable option for all.
Yeah, and they feel like they've got a lot of players right now as it stands, like right now. So
sure, absolutely. And you think 2021, they've got some ballers, and Auburn's in the mix for several of those guys. So, it wouldn't be a terrible thing to have, a spot open going into the season in recruiting some of these guys. Jabari Smith, jumps out from the big guy from Georgia. There's a lot of guys in the 2021 class. Frankie Collins, I believe, Auburn's contacted him. He had a virtual visit. So you never know who's going to leave next year. Who's going to transfer out? Are there any guys leaving early? Will there even have those opportunities? So you just never know. A lot of variables going around, or a lot of variables to consider when going into the season with that scholarship.
Word. That's the situation there with basketball, and then football, like you mentioned. Got some stuff going down here, there, and everywhere. Football
got
players.
Some stuff going down in football. Definitely going to be keeping an eye on Jet Landon King. Have been for the past couple of weeks. I feel like it's getting closer and closer. Really would be surprised if it goes on another week. But I don't think even if it does, don't think that's a negative. He hasn't really said a timeline on it, but I would personally expect it in the next week. And then Christian Leary, the wide receiver, the slot guy from Orlando area, has hinted that he's getting ready. Auburn, Alabama, Florida is what he told me last week. So some things going down in June. I would expect Auburn to be in on a few announcements at least. And I could see them adding at least 2 this month, if not more. So a lot of things to keep to track this month. And we'll certainly be doing it at Auburn Sports.
Yeah. That's right. And your record on picking commitments is very, very good. I'll just leave it at that.
I've gotten lucky a lot here lately.
Oh, hell no, you haven't gotten lucky. First of all, you're a knight. Second of all, your percentage is extremely high. So,
thank you.
Sure, I mean, you have to thank me. Those are your numbers, brother. We've actually got Charlie 5 in the chat tonight for the first time in a while, and he was saying earlier that he thinks you really suck. And I was like, damn, Jeffrey Lee's really cool. And he didn't say that. I'm just kidding.
I won him a T-shirt 2 years ago.
That's what I was trying to say, man. Because of course, he brought it up as usual.
Yeah, you tell him he's welcome.
Yeah. That's the thing. They need to give them more points for being further out when they make their pick, right? Because you get the same points now if it's the day before versus 4 months earlier,
And you know what gets me on these is I think I'm about 83%, but what gets me is like when Aaron McLaughlin, decommits from Auburn. Well, I quit following his recruitment, but my pick is still on Auburn because it never changes. Or Brandon Perry, who committed to Auburn, decommitted from Auburn. I quit following his recruitment, and my pick is still on Auburn. So they need to do some tweaks to that. They need to put I think 24/7 has a foggy or basically I don't know feature or an option, and Rivals doesn't have that. So once you make a pick, you have to either stick with that school or change it before the kid commits, or you'll be counted wrong for that.
That's BS.
That was a tweak I was hoping to bring up this year at the convention. Maybe something I need to go post on the pub board, but I think it looks good on us when our fans are doing well in the FutureCast picks.
Johnny K from the chat wants to know what's up with the DL commits. What do you think is up with the DL commits?
The DL?
Yeah.
D-line.
Yeah, D-line. Sorry, I should have said that.
Just working on my board here for next week's 5 top targets. Lee Hunter, we know, is committed. Marquise Robinson from the Panhandle down in Florida he's a 3-star guy, but Auburn's been watching this kid for 2 or 3 years now, and he's really grown into a guy that Rodney Garner likes. Isaac Washington has been a guy that was high on Auburn. Auburn was high on him. He's from North Carolina. He committed to Tennessee, but this year, I think we've talked about before, these commitments, they probably hold even less water than they typically do. I certainly expect to see him back at Auburn in the fall. And then a new guy to look out for is from Philadelphia, Talik Robbins. Al Pogue, I think we talked about him before too, but Al Pogue was recruiting him while at West Virginia, built a really good relationship, and it has carried over to Auburn, which offered about a week or 2 ago. So those are some tackles to keep an eye on. They'll be on my list Monday morning. And then defensive end, some unfamiliar names, kind of being, Rodney Garner's probably the best at keeping things close to the vest.
Sure is.
But we've done. I think he offered Jabril McNeil earlier this week. He's a new name added to the list. I hope to have more on him next week. Nick Evans is a defensive end. He's a junior college defensive end. He's teammates with Jamori Robinson, who is the top Buck target for Auburn. But Al is recruiting him, offered last week or the week before. Maybe, can't remember. But anyways, they like Nick Evans, the JUCO defensive end, up there, teammates with Jamori Robinson. But yeah, we'll be focusing on the defense this coming week, and certainly the front seven will be hot topics.
A hot topic, yes, sir. All right, Jeffrey Lee, you've once again crushed it, as you often do. And
well, I had to, man.
That's what you do. You're just kind of a crusher. What have you got planned for the rest of the night? Are you going to be doing anything crazy?
I was headed to the shower when you called. I'm actually working on painting some tile floor. Going to be doing that in the morning.
Painting?
So I've been prepping for that. Yeah, man, this is old. At my house in Cary Woods, they're older homes on bigger lots, but the houses are, built in the 70s. Well, I call it Burger King tile, man. When you walk in my door, you've been here. I don't know if you've ever noticed it, but it's just doo-doo brown Burger King tile. And I just got the luxury vinyl planks put down, and so I need to. And this, you need like a jackhammer to get this shit up, dude.
Really?
These Burger King tiles, yes. So instead of doing that, we found on Pinterest ways to alter the image other ways.
Oh,
and
okay.
Found some paint that will actually stick to the tile, and then we're going to stencil it. It's going to look real pretty.
Damn, that sounds awesome. You and Brooks?
Yeah, Jessica's going to come over and help me. She's the boss lady.
Okay.
I just do what she tells me to.
That's probably a good call, man.
It is.
Jeffrey Lee, I will see you the next time we're at Voodoo next week. All right, bro?
Absolutely. Sounds good, big dog.
Behave yourself.
All right, man.
See you, bro. There he is, Sir Jeffrey Lee. During the call, Sir Rockman passed along a shot of his new art, which I will now share with you. This is BP Rockman. Oh, no, it's messed up. Oh, no. There it is in the flesh, ladies and gentlemen. BP Rockman's new ink. You can see he's got, it's kind of blurry, but he's got an eagle up there, and he's got like a tree, and he's got some other shit there. So he's got the full arm. Good stuff, BP Rockman. Got the makings of a fine sleeve right there, sir. So Jeffrey Lee answering some questions about Latrell Neville as an outside receiver. That's somebody that they are definitely very, very interested in. Christian Leary going to be making his decision, the young man from Orlando that Cody Burns has been working on ardently for the better part of a year and a half now. Although that's down to big hitters at this point. Auburn, Alabama, and Florida, I believe. Or maybe it's LSU. Can't remember. Well, they would love to have him as their ace number one slot receiver. And then on the DL, you heard the scoopage there. Sounds like Rodney Garner's kind of getting into full steam right now as far as getting those offers out and just kind of getting a feel for what he wants to do, how he wants to finish up. Ryan D says, JGT, stand up and show yourself. I don't know what that means. You're freaking me out a little bit. Johnny K, I hope that answered your questions about the DL. Canoe Man says, Commodore, you should have given an NSFW before showing that picture of BP Rockman. And then John CH says, he's gone gangsta. Hey, now. BP Rockman's just a tough man. That's all. Ruxpin incorrectly assesses that JG is naked from the waist down. That is not true. I promise you that is not true. Canoe Man pointed out something that Jeffrey Lee said. Luxury vinyl planks is such a wonderful term. I agree completely. And AU Taxman is asking Jay Lee for his handle on Pinterest. I love when Jay Lee's like, yeah, so we saw something on Pinterest where I was like, oh, God. Yeah. And you guys make fun of me for my hair, but that's a pretty rag-worthy comment right there. Mm-hmm. All right. So, that's Jay Lee for you. Doing his thing. Pachuta, one of our new members, as you guys know, says Sir Jeff was awesome. First time to hear him baller. He is. He's a lot of fun. Jeffrey Lee, he's always fun to hang out with and listen to. He's got a lot of passion for this, loves keeping up with it, and he can just go on and on and on with names all day long. I try to keep him from doing that because some recruiting analysts, very good ones, will just absolutely inundate you with offers and names and people that probably aren't going to go to Auburn or even be in the team picture, so to speak, for an offer. And Jeffrey Lee and I both agree that let's just keep it on to the kids that you need to know about, you know? Let's not give folks, subscribers, a bunch of names and intel on kids that aren't going to be part of the final picture. So there you go. Although there are some fine, absolutely outstanding recruiting analysts out there who just go through every single offer and every single name, and they're good too. It's just not my thing. That's all. Canoe Man says Jay Lee is a shot caller. Yes, sir. Ryan D says LOL was referring to people saying you don't have pants on. I do have shorts on, though. I have my Under Armour shorts on. But I don't see any reason to wear full pants. You guys aren't going to see it. Oh, damn. All right, we're giving an NSFW here, Canoe Man. BP showing the tiger on the other arm. I don't know if you guys can see that. Unfortunately, my camera is not, like, zooming in on it. Or, like, it's not focusing. But believe me when I say that's a tiger. So that's the other arm. That's good ink, bro. Better than the little stuff I got. This Long Branch has been treating me well. To BP Rockman. Glad to have you on the show, bro. Delicious. Let's see. John C.H. says, is Nate going to come on? His article on PFD was fantastic. We need more. Yeah. I'll tell you what. Let me hook up with him and see what's up. Now, this is scintillating video when I'm sitting here doing this. Also, when we're talking about Nate, one of his homies is Justin Ferguson. Unfortunately, Justin, who writes for the Athletic, the Auburn Athletic site, was laid off. I think they let off 40 to 50 folks, which is just awful. The way that their corporate structure is set up, there's really not that many editors there. They're very heavy on writers. So when you hear that there's 40-something people that have been laid off, you know that's going to be a lot of writers, and it's a lot of people I know. The guy who hired me for my very first journalism job, Brett Dawson, who covers the Lakers for the Athletic, was let go. And more on point for what you guys care about, Justin Ferguson was laid off as well. Absolutely sick to our stomachs over that. Justin is just as good a dude as you can imagine in this business. In a good mood all the time, eager to learn stuff, eager to kind of spread his wings and do things that maybe some other young reporters would not, that would consider it too complex, but he took it head on. And it sucks. It sucks, obviously, when a guy loses his job, but I feel like this beat needs to have Justin's voice on it for the ideas that he has and digging a little deeper on some stuff. I think he's a great long-form writer, and he's a great long-form reporter. So I am hopeful that Justin lands on his feet, and I know some of you guys out there are fans of Justin. You have to be, because he's good, and he's on the radio a lot in Auburn. So those of you who are listening to the show that he does in the lunchtime hour, he has Nate on a good amount. Yeah, we're thinking of you, Justin. He's just good folk. AU Taxman says Ferg wrote a good piece on Dye just the other day. I mean, yeah. I'm actually a subscriber to The Athletic. I subscribe to The Athletic because one of my friends, C. Trent Rosecrans, works there. But Ferg is he's great too. Hey, caller, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Hey, Jay, how's it going, man?
Word, who I got on the horn?
Call me Auburn Lax 2. I think I met you back at the Baltimore rundown there with Byron Cowart, actually, on the field before you and Brian started walking around the grocery stores.
Oh, damn. What about that, huh?
Yeah, that was. We thought we had a player there, didn't we?
Hell yeah. And then didn't quite turn out the way we thought it would.
No, not exactly. So, no, I was calling about the Nick Marshall stuff. I think you're spot on. I think we all kind of undervalued him when he was there. And obviously the two good seasons there. The one thing that always kind of irked me, in that A&M game that basically derailed the season there, how was that not a false start?
Oh, I don't remember the specifics of a play like that. I remember they had some snap problems, right?
Yeah, he wasn't under center, and he came up to like make an adjustment. I think the couple linemen were actually back in their stance, and they snapped the ball into his hands, but he's not paying attention. It hits the ground, and all hell breaks loose.
Shit like that happens.
But I was always kind of curious what happened there.
I have to talk to Reese about it next time I talk to him. He'll probably have some
let me know. And then and then the other thing I wanted to talk about was with I think the limited capacity in the stadiums coming up. You know, I think my fear is that you're going to have obviously a lot of season ticket holders who've had tickets longer than I have, and everything. And when people start selling them on the second market, right? Because that ticket's going to be way more valuable, right? Is there a way you think they'll try to prevent that?
Yes, I think they're going to try to prevent that. I don't know exactly how to do it, but I don't know if they're going to make it. You know, each ticket is made for a certain person. You got to show an ID to make sure it's 1-to-1. You know what I mean? That the person using the ticket. Yeah, they do a little bit of that in the student section as well. I don't think they crack down on it, but they make you show an ID anyway, and they may do that for all the tickets now. I don't know. That's a good question, though. It's a great question.
Yeah, it's a fear because I know a lot of people kind of break even each year when they have to sell them when they live afar for other reasons, and you'd be seriously incentivized this year, I think. So it does worry me how that'll shake out.
Administrative assistant is of the opinion they're going to make people wear a mask in an effort to try to discourage people from going. Because, like, if everybody who's promised a ticket wants a ticket this year, they're going to have a problem because I don't think they're going to let that many people in the stadium. So they've got to find a way to cut it down, and I think they're going to try to use that mask thing and think that a certain percentage of people will say, well, no, I won't do that. I refuse to wear a mask.
Yeah. You got to imagine they'll let the student section fill up, though, right, if they're sitting in classes together.
Yeah. I said early on the show, I'm of the opinion this COVID stuff's a little overrated. Actually, I think it might be a lot overrated. I just don't think it's as lethal among the general population as we thought it was going to be, but I still think they're going to be very careful in the fall.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I hate it, but I think it's just the reality of it. Are you up that way, Maryland?
I was in Baltimore. I actually worked at everyone's favorite Under Armour for a while after school, but that's when I met you. I actually live down in Marietta now, so I've been down here for about 2 years.
All right, cool. That's a much closer to God's country there.
Yes. So now I have season tickets, so it's much more easily to access. But I know I'm not in the long-standing guys like we have on the site.
Perfect. Well, we're glad to have you on the show, bro. Go ahead. Continue.
I would say one last thing.
Yeah.
Do we always forget about the year Chris Todd had as a pocket passer? Like, is he the only good pocket passer he's produced? That was his first year, right? That was Gus's first year as offense coordinator.
Yeah. Was he good?
He was first team All SEC. I might be overstepping there, but I'm pretty sure he was first team All SEC that year, which is crazy because it was pre all these huge offenses. I think he had 2,600 yards. I think he had 20 touchdowns. Like, he had a good year. And that was Gus's first year because I think was that right before Franklin left?
Yeah. Well, Franklin was gone in 08, yeah.
Yeah. So that was Gus's first year because he was 08, 09.
I'm looking at the 2009 All-SEC football team, and he's not on it, but they've got Tebow and Ryan Mallett. I forgot about Ryan Mallett. That was a long time ago. And surely
I thought
2010 would have been Cam, right?
Yeah.
So no, but he had a good year.
Yeah. No, all right.
And I think listen, man. And Chris Todd is good people, man. Chris Todd, because he's still hanging around Auburn a bunch too, because he's cool like that. He works in Auburn. Awesome dude, like as cool as it gets. The bunker would love Chris Todd.
Awesome. All right. Well, I appreciate taking the time, take the call. I enjoyed the show.
Please call in again. All right, bro.
All right.
See you, man.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Glad to have AULAX on. No doubt. Chris Todd, Hornacea says he broke Auburn records. I don't think he was all SEC though, but he probably had a good year though, because that's back when Gus was just killing it, man. Let me get the stats up here and see what the deal was. He's from Elizabethtown, Kentucky. Absolutely. You know what sucks about Chris Todd though? He had gotten injured when he was at Hutchinson, and he had a grade 3 shoulder separation, which means there was some tearing in there, and he just never was the same. Because he had a thunderous arm coming out of high school. I mean, I'm talking like maybe the best in the country. He finished with 22 touchdown passes. He set an Auburn record with 22 touchdown passes and 2,600 passing yards with a passer rating of 145, ranking him 18th in the nation. So he was good. He was really good. But you forget about him because the guy who came after him was a little bit better. But Chris Todd, I'm telling you guys, I mean, not that you guys think he sucks or anything, because you don't, but Chris Todd is as cool a dude. Like, of all the quarterbacks I've covered, he's right there. He's number one. He'd be tied with Ben Leard for number one as far as just cool guy. You know, Nick is just kind of like, he's always got something else he's got to go do. And then Cam is like, I never met anybody else like Cam Newton. Like, he's just strange person. I mean, he's obviously an incredible quarterback, but a very odd person. I liked Clint Mosley, but he was just kind of sullen. I liked Barrett, but I mean, he's got a brilliant mind. You know, Sean White just seemed out of his element, I guess. You know, Jarrett Stidham is just kind of sanitized to the point where you don't even know if you're really talking to him. You know, Nick's real, but it's like I said, he's just always got something else on his mind. Chris Todd and Ben Leard. And Jeff Klein. I loved covering Jeff Klein back in the day. He was fun. It was a lot of fun. Anyway, I go down memory lane in my head, and I just start thinking about stuff. Canoeman says Ben Leard is a cool guy. Absolutely. Ben Leard's just great. And the thing about Ben Leard is he had such a great sense of humor about everything, you know? I mean, I could joke with him. And he got it, you know? I mean, it was funny. One thing that I feel bad about now, I didn't know then what we know now about concussions, but I mean, Ben, he was probably one concussion away from like not playing anymore. I mean, on the record, he'd had like 3 or 4 concussions. And I mean, he got knocked plumb out at Arkansas that one year. And I mean, they took him to the hospital and stuff because he was just out. He had gotten into that, you know, that pose. When you get hit really hard and your arms come up, and it was like, oh my gosh. Back in those days in the 90s, it was almost funny. Like, not funny, but it was just like, oh, Ben got knocked out. Isn't that crazy? Get the smelling salts out. And we would kind of joke with him about it. And now, I mean, we know how serious that is. I mean, it's a brain injury. I feel kind of weird about it. Next time I see Ben, I'm probably talk to him about that. Is Cam going to quit football to start his own clothing line? Maybe he can team up with Sal Cannella. I saw one of the coaches, was it T. Will? I can't remember who it was, that had done an unboxing with one of Sal's new pieces of clothing. Sal's got a lot of passion, man. I'll be interested to see if Sal, you know, how far Sal can get with that. I mean, as a football player, he was just kind of like really good at times and then generally just kind of mediocre, but he always had a real passion for like fashion. He really did. And the fact that he's already got this line kind of up and off the ground a little bit, like that's incredibly hard to do. And so I hope that it works out. Let's see. A lot of people think Ben Leard is cool, obviously. Yeah. And that game in 99 that he had with Ronnie Daniels where he just absolutely annihilated Georgia. That was a lot of fun to watch. Pachuta says Damian Craig was a cool dude. Yeah, I mean, I like Damian. I don't know as I've ever met someone who is more about themselves than Damian Craig, though. And you can say I don't necessarily say that's a bad thing. he just really thought a lot of himself. And over time, I started to think a little bit less of him. I started to feel like he was more hype than he was substance. As a coach, as a quarterback, he was unbelievable. He had incredible spirit. But the way that he left Auburn, to me, affects how I feel about him, honestly. And he did the same thing at LSU. And now he's, you know, he ended up with Jimbo, and, you know, good on Jimbo for sticking with him. Let's see. A BP Rockman says T. Will and Gus have both worn Sal clothing. Speaking of that, I actually contacted El Toro today. El Toro's got the ROTL line. You guys can check that stuff out on his Twitter feed, which is at El Toro Freeman. I love El Toro, one of my all-time favorites. Anyway, the ROTL line is pushing a shirt right now. You know, he makes like shirts and stuff, and it says "Everybody versus Racism," and it really intrigued me. And he also sells something that just say "I love you." It just says "I love you," and then, you know, ROTL reputation on the line is his thing, so it says "I love you, ROTL." And I was reaching out to him because I want to buy some. And he gave me prices and stuff. All you got to do is DM him if you're interested in some of that stuff. His T-shirts are small to extra large are $25, 2X, 3X are $27, 4X to 6X are $30, shipping $7.50. And he takes money through Cash App or Venmo. So all you got to do is just DM him on Twitter if you want to take a look at that stuff. Or if you're interested in that stuff, you can take a look at it on his Twitter. I'm going to be getting some myself. And I was thinking about getting some for bunker distribution. Maybe somebody who has like the post of the week or the caller of the week on the show or whatever. We could just get some ROTL merchandise. I love the positivity in his messages in general, and I love El Toro because he's really, really good dude. And I love the gumption he's showing with this stuff, so I'm just trying to support him as best I can. Yeah, Canoe Man says, how is El Toro's brother Charlie doing? Yeah, that's the thing, man. Charlie, we did it, Charlie. One of the great interviews of all time. Certainly one of the great on field interviews of all time. Let's see. Brian BP says Damian wants to become a head high school coach soon. Well, good for him. That'd be good. Ruxpin says you should get El Toro on the show. Maybe I should. I hadn't thought about that. I still can't believe I don't have any ROTL stuff though. I don't know why I haven't done it. I've been meaning to get it. There's probably some people that say, JG, that's bad of you to wear that stuff because you're supposed to be impartial or whatever. But, I mean, El Toro's been gone for a minute, and I don't know. I don't really feel that way as much. Ed D says, how did we let Pat White out of the state? That's a good question. Pat White, tremendous dual-threat quarterback who was from Mobile, who ended up playing at West Virginia and was insanely good up there. This is when Rich Rod was at his peak. You know, I don't think Auburn was committed to him. Bottom line. I mean, he was kind of a special case. He was a lot like Demetrius Davis is now. Shorter, faster. You know, I just didn't think that Tubb was feeling it at that point. But truly one of the tremendous college players to play out of state. Kyle, there's so many of those. I mean, Terrell Owens plays at Chattanooga because he was too small at the time. Richmond Flowers from Montgomery played at Ole Miss. Is that right? Yeah. Tremendous athlete out of Lanier High School. Condridge Holloway from Huntsville. Pat Washington. No, he came in. That's right. We got him from out of state. Yeah, Condridge Holloway ended up going to Tennessee. He might be the greatest athlete ever out of Huntsville. Truly one of the great athletes out of this state. I don't know. Pat White's a good one, though. Phillip Rivers. God, how can I forget that? Yeah, Phillip Rivers from Athens, Alabama. A guy that Tuberville really, really wanted, to be fair, but he wanted him at tight end. They just didn't think that – they thought his throwing motion was so hitchy that he wasn't going to be good. And, you know, obviously they're completely wrong about that. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback, but – he does have a weird throwing motion, right? I mean, it is kind of weird. And I'm a Chargers until they left for L.A. I like the Chargers a lot, and I followed him a lot. And he has kind of a funky motion, but the dude can absolutely play. I mean, they missed on him. And Alabama did too now. To be fair, Alabama wanted to play him at linebacker as well. Raven P with a super chat. Thank you very much, sir, for your support. You're always here for us. It's very much appreciated. It says, sorry I couldn't catch most of the drain tonight. Wish everyone the best. Thanks, JG, for all you do, War Eagle. Thank you, Raven. Appreciate you. Again, always here with us on the show. And super chatting as well. So very much appreciated. Ruxpin says Quan Alexander from Oxford, Alabama. Played linebacker at LSU and now an NFL guy. Absolutely. Good call. George Pickens to Georgia. We'll see how that works out. I mean, I think he's tremendously talented. We'll just see if he becomes the player that I feel like he could become. Ed D says, who cares about throwing motion when you can hit your targets? Well, Phillip Rivers might have been a case where coaches kind of spend a little more time focused on results rather than, like you said, the motion. I don't know. We can talk all day about this stuff. I mean, Lamar Jackson, he's not an Alabama kid that got away, but Lamar Jackson, Gus passes on him, or didn't really pass on him, just didn't make him a priority out of high school. I think he was out of Deerfield Beach. I can't remember. He's out of Florida somewhere. He ends up going to Louisville, and obviously he's a total badass. But at the time, I watched him at camp, and I didn't think he was going to be a Heisman-type player myself. Now, I'm a dumbass message board moderator, and Gus is not. Maybe, but hey, man, sometimes kids just blossom. You guys know I push that. Kids develop at different speeds at different times. Some kids, just like Derek Brown and Marlon, just get it really quick, and they're reliable, solid, mature people very early in their careers, and they're great like that. You love having kids like that. Other times it takes longer, and it's not because the kid's bad. It's just people mature and grow at different speeds. Always got to keep that in mind. Ruxpin notes that Justin Ross from Phoenix City, who plays at Clemson, his career may be over. That was a tough one to take. Justin Ross is a really high-quality kid. Took a very strong look. Really, it was down to Auburn and Clemson for him. And we thought that he was probably going to pick Auburn because his mom's in the Army, and she was stationed in Columbus, and so it would be easier for her to see her son play at Auburn than it was Clemson, but he ended up going to Clemson. Great player. And he now has like a spinal issue, I think, and he's going to have surgery that may end his career. We're still hoping that is not the case. But, yeah, high-quality individual. Good kid. Super good. We got a super chat that came through from Canoe Man, one of our Hall of Fame super chatters, et cetera, poster on the bunker as well. It says, a bunk I really like at Ruxy Poo. Are you a Pearl? Was that the deal there? I mean, not that people wouldn't just love Ruxy Poo in general, but, I didn't know if there was something to that. Canoe Man says, can you imagine Gus as a mod? No. He could not do this job for a day. He would lose his mind. He loves the structure and the rigidity of things too much. When you're moderating a board in times like these, you can't look at things in absolute terms. You can't say, well, every single politics thread gets moved, or every thread about the protests or Black Lives Matter or Kaepernick gets moved, because a lot of them are trolly or they get trolly, but there are some that don't. And I really want to keep threads on the bunker that can stay on the bunker. And that kind of murkiness, I think, would bother Gus. Just my opinion. Let's see. Ed D says, some kids don't practice well but can play when the lights are on. Absolutely. Trying to think of somebody like that. Somebody who didn't practice very well, but Kenny Irons. He played hard. Not the best practice player ever. Ronnie Brown. He really brought it on the game day. Cornell played hard all the time. Pat Sims played in the NFL for a while. he's forgotten. He's overlooked a lot. Outstanding player. Just didn't engage all the time. Quentin Groves, one of my all-time favorites, played Call of Duty with him for years. Probably the worst Call of Duty player, worse than Cardea, that I ever played with. Because he always just wanted to run down the middle of the street and didn't understand why he was getting his ass beat all the time. I'd be like, Quentin, you can't do that. I used to play with him, P. Lee, Senderic, Kevin Hobbs, and Wes Byram. Yeah. That was played with them maybe 3 or 4 times. I played with Senderic more than that. I don't see him on anymore. I think Senderic, that was when Senderic was early in his career. I don't think he plays games as much anymore. AU Taxman correctly assesses that Allen Iverson is not a practice player. We just came up on that the anniversary of that rant the other day, which is the all-time greatest rant in the history of sports, in my opinion. I mean, he's all-time. I mean, Pat Dye with the, you got to lay your guts on the line every day is a great speech in the category of actual legitimate, encouragement speech. But if you're just talking about entertainment, Allen Iverson's rant about practice. And the problem is that on YouTube and whatnot, there's only about 2.5 minutes of that interview that's on video. That was a conversation that was like 20 minutes long. And I've read the transcript I got it from a reporter who was there. Back when reporters, what they do is for a press conference like that, the reporters will split it up. So like one reporter will do the first 5 minutes and one reporter will do the second 5 minutes. One reporter will do the third 5 minutes, and then they get a big transcript. I've read the transcript, and it was absolutely super entertaining, and it kept going, and kept going, and kept going. And he went on a rant about, he said better than playoffs. I mean, that's the Jim Mora senior rant. Playoffs. Hell, we're just trying to win a game. The practice rant is so crazy. And I thought about it recently because when I was watching the Jordan doc, so much of Jordan's legend as a teammate came from practice, right? I mean, Steve Kerr talked about it a bunch. John Paxson talked about it a bunch, about how he just tore their ass up in practice. I'll get back to this. Hey, caller, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Hey, G, what's happening, man?
Word, who I got on the horn?
This is Auburn alumni.
What up, man? I haven't talked to you in a minute.
Yeah, man. Just trying to survive this whole COVID nonsense. So I've been trying to do the quarantine thing, and I've been listening. I just haven't been calling in, just letting everybody else have their piece. So how's it going?
Oh, it's great, man. You're one of our great real callers. Like, you just kind of keep it on task and talk about what's going on in the field or on the court. But we hadn't had much to talk about that way in the last 3.5 months, right?
Yeah, man. Although you're bringing up games, it's reminded me of when I was living in Sewell Hall, and this is back, I think it's 98. I'm playing against Reggie Worthy and Larry Casher and all those guys in some NCAA. As a matter of fact, I beat Larry Casher playing as Auburn and did a pick six with virtual Larry Casher. He was Florida and I was Auburn. So to this day, if I talk to C-Money, I'm like, hey, man, just remember I beat you with yourself in NCAA. So him, and then I will tell you this, too. The biggest trash talker of all time in NCAA is Reggie Worthy. That guy would not stop talking when we played. It was me, him, Michael Burks, Hollywood. We get around robin, Kenny Kelly, all those guys. But that was what we'd be in Damon Duvall and dorm with Michael Lindsay over, and so we'd be in their room or we'd be over in our room, and we'd have tournaments till 3-4 in the morning.
Damn, Michael Lindsay, there's a name I haven't heard in a minute.
Yeah, man.
He's a good dude too, man.
Every once in a while we get interrupted by Damon's girlfriend screaming at him from the parking lot. Or DeMontre Carter trying to sell his clothes. So one of those two things.
Yeah, we were talking the other day about DeMontre and Leo Carson. We're on the same team, dude. Those guys I wouldn't want to fight either one of them.
Dude, Leo is probably the scariest guy I've ever met in person, like where I was legitimately scared of him. Because now, it was him, it was Reese, Jimmy. Jimmy's the coolest guy in the world. I had a couple of classes with Jimmy Brumbaugh, but and then you had Marcus. So that actually, you know, people forget that was a really damn good defensive line we had that year with those four. I thought. I mean, Carson, Brumbaugh, Washington,
Marcus
and
Washington.
then Reese.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
We ended up playing in the league for 10 years, something like that.
Yeah, that was a good group on defense. Brother Oliver knew what he was doing. He had the team put together. It was the other side of the field that was messed up.
Yeah, man. The one other thing I'll mention, just talking about Sewell, is so obviously the rule is you couldn't have girls in Sewell, and
Ever?
You never. And Ben Thomas, another person who's very terrifying looking, is a very large man.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget. I actually went out with a girl and brought her back to my room for literally we were going to go back out in 10 minutes. And no lie, it's almost like he had radar. As soon as she got in the room, within 1 minute, I see Big Ben walking by, and he was just like, Drew, that girl needs to leave. I was like, yes, sir. Pardon me, we're out of here. But yeah, that was another thing.
Ben Thomas he's a big boy now. He looks like he could tear you in half. Anybody, I mean.
Dude, and I was so excited about the victory dinners, and of course, the year I'm in Sewell, we go 3-8. So those victory dinners were very, very few, far between. But anyway,
yeah.
So no, man, I just I wanted to call in and just shoot the breeze, and also talk a little bit about Coach Dye. You know, I'm 42, so when I was growing up and when I was in grade school was basically when Coach Dye, at the height of his fame there. I was grade school for me was in the mid 80s, so growing up, and my dad, obviously, who graduated from Auburn in 73, I took it for granted. I don't, my first memories of Auburn and my first memories of Auburn football is, we always beat Alabama. We always win the SEC. We have Heisman Trophy winners and Lombardi Award winners and All-Americans. I thought this was normal. And my dad, he consistently told me, he said, you have no idea how good you have it right now. He said, when I was growing up, if you wore an Auburn shirt to school, you were made fun of. You never went to the game and expecting to win. My granddad, who also is an Auburn grad, before he passed, the joke he always told me, he said, our biggest cheer when I was at Auburn was "Hold 'em, Auburn." That was the biggest cheer they had. So for me and for the guys my age, and obviously now past, I mean, a lot of you start to feel your age when you're like, well, damn, Coach Doc quit coaching in 92.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people on the board that are, gosh, we're coming up on 30 years almost. So you got these kids that are in their 20s where they don't ever remember him being there, but he truly did completely change the narrative. And the guy, as he got older, obviously, he would go on the Fine Mom show and people were like, oh, I don't like how he talks. But people forget that guy, to this day, the 89 Iron Bowl locker room speech is probably my all-time favorite Auburn speech ever. The way he could relate to parents and the players, and it's pretty crazy how almost unanimously every player that ever played for him has nothing but love and adoration for him. So, it was a gut punch, when he passed this week, because you said it and I totally agree. I think he's the most important figure in Auburn athletics history, personally. That's my thought. For where he came in, where we were at, what he did, and not just winning, but changing the complete mindset. I mean, you still have and we talk about on the board, the little brother syndrome, whatever, but yeah. Coach Dye, he had no little brother syndrome at all. I mean, he's like, we're not going to back down from anybody. We're not scared of them across the state, and as you pointed out, the guy won 4 SEC championships in 12 years or 11 seasons. So, it's always a matter of a question of, I know we had the lull in 90, 91 and 92, but I think a lot of that too, if I remember correctly, because this is right when I was getting into high school, was the Ramsey stuff and coming out and that kind of took away. But I firmly believe the 93 team Coach Dye had as much as Terry Bowden did going to defeat that.
Yeah, I mean,
completely.
They almost kind of took like they were both considered co-conspirators on that team. I felt like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, man. I mean, and like most guys, I think, or a lot of guys, one of my biggest bonding moments with my dad was Auburn football growing up, and to this day, I will always remember my dad's reaction to the '89 game. Like, I thought it was great, but at the time I'm 12 years old. My dad watching his reaction and the reaction of the other Auburn people and stuff like that is just that will always be special to me. And Coach Dye will always be just supremely loved by me, and I'm sure by a large majority of the fan base that know him, and the younger guys, the 20-year-olds and whatnot. They really, if they can, they really need to go back and watch some of those old games and watch his film and watch the old locker room speeches. But I really think that everything we're seeing from this point on, all the championships, and we continuously are ranked. Even when we don't do well, you still see us preseason top 15, top
Absolutely.
20, top. So the national brand for Auburn is we're a continuous contender. No matter what we feel like, internally, or if there's some, we have some weak points, but the standard narrative across the nation is Auburn's a top program, and that's a direct result of Pat Dye, to me.
And he came in at a time when they were bad. Auburn was terrible, and
man,
they sure weren't terrible about mid to late '80s. They were tearing everybody's ass up.
Yeah.
And the '89 game was his magnum opus, though. I mean, to get it to Auburn and then beat their ass in Auburn, that was the big moment.
Oh yeah, and we were robbed in '83 completely, totally.
They should be claiming that. They should be claiming that national championship. We would agree, right?
Oh, absolutely. And the '88 team.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, Brian is totally right. Deion Sanders absolutely pass interfered, and they didn't call it. I remember that like it was yesterday. And then of course you got that game, and you got the 7-6 game. That's still one of the best defenses I've ever seen in my life too. That '88 D with Tracy Rocker and Ogletree and Riggins and all those guys, just Wiley. That was a heck of a defense too. So, but I'm hoping that Bruce can do the same thing for our basketball program that Pat did for our football program. And I think that there are some similarities in that. We're 2 or 3 more years of us producing these really good ball clubs, and the Auburn basketball brand will start to be recognized nationally as a continuous top 25 program, which is something that seemed laughable even. I was at Auburn during the Porter years. I knew Porter, knew Scotty, those guys. That was a great time, but it was a little flash in the pan. But what Bruce is building the basketball arena, to me, there's a lot of parallels to what Pat did.
I hope
They're
so.
different types of personalities, but there's a lot of similarities.
I hope that BP is permanently raising the level the way that Pat Dye did. Yeah, that would be awesome.
But I didn't want to take up too much time, man. I did want to call in, with Coach Dye passing, and just, reiterate my love for the man and what he's done for Auburn. And, like I said, for my generation, that guy was, for me, he was larger than life. And he, I don't take it for granted now what I grew up and got a chance to go to school wearing my Auburn jersey and, wore with pride, with a lot of victories, a lot of wins. So he will be missed.
Auburn alumni, you always keep it real, bro. We appreciate that from you.
Hi, buddy.
See you, bro.
Take it easy.
Be good.
Yeah.
There he is, Auburn alumni. One of our really good callers. Always got some good tales. Keeps it straight. Cope07 is in the chat. Says, what up, JG? What is your official position on Blanton's? My official position on that is that it is delicious and lovely. And if you have some right now, I think you should drink it. Also, I want to say, Ryan D's with me on that. You definitely should claim 83. Auburn has a great claim on the 83 national championship. They finished third in the AP voting, but they vote before the bowl game, and Auburn won their bowl game. 5 different organizations, the legitimate ones back in those days, claimed Auburn as their national champion. So you don't even have to like kind of reach on that one. You just claim it. That's a natty. Period. Also want to welcome Peyton P. over from the Rebel Groves group over here for his first live brain drain. Glad to have you. Welcome. I saw Canoe Man had already welcomed you as well. John C.H., we'll say John H., says he still has the big ticket from 89, red carpet Obby. Was there in person. Man. BMAT is the only, because Jay Lee wasn't there. I wasn't there. BMAT's our only guy who was there at the 89 game and says it was insane. Absolutely insane. There was one more thing I wanted to say before we get BMAT on the horn. We were talking about AI earlier and his rant about practice. So one of the great things about Jordan, though, was that he just raised so much hell in practice to challenge his teammates to be better in practice. And it was like he was so crazy about it. Like they talked about how he's riding Steve Kerr's ass in practice, riding John Paxson's ass in practice, riding Scotty Burrell's ass in practice, because he thought practice was really, really important. Remember the stuff about the Olympic team when they were working out, and I think he said Monaco for the Barcelona games, and he was just absolutely killing guys there, that it was so important to him. And then you got AI, who literally said during that interview we were talking about, how the hell can I make my teammates better by practicing? Like, completely oblivious to the fact that he has a role in developing his teammates. Whereas Jordan thought that was one of the most important parts of why he was a player. For AI, it's not even on the radar. Two different dudes. I happen to love Allen Iverson, and he happens to be one of my 5 favorite NBA players of all time, but he was a selfish dick. And my friend L.C. Johnson, who used to cover them, the Sixers back in the day, said that AI would routinely have some member of his posse go get him food when practice was supposed to be going. He'd get the food, and he would climb on the toilet in the bathroom and like put his feet up on the toilet seat so you couldn't see him under the doors, and just sit there and eat during practice. He's like hiding from practice, like literally hiding from practice. Two very different ways of looking at things. Also, Auburn alumni was talking about Sewell Hall. Man, I've spent some time over at Sewell Hall back in the day. They used to let us eat. They used to let reporters eat over there for free. And I wasn't really there for the food per se, although I did like their salads. But I'd basically sit down and eat with players or coaches. That was back in the days when media weren't seen as, problematic elements. Now, Gus talks to me, and if I text Gus something or I call Gus, he's going to talk to me about it. He's known me a while now, and he trusts me. But, in general, it just seems like media is just like seen as the enemy now. No, I'm not saying that Auburn. I'm not really bagging Auburn. I'm just talking about nationally. Maybe that has something to do with President Trump kind of, giving a lot of grief during the press conferences or whatever. I don't know. It was going on before that, though. I wish it wasn't like that. I wish it was like it was back in the day when he could sit and have a lunch with, I'm thinking back to like James Callier, sit down with him at lunch and just talk to him. And I'm not talking shit on the record. I don't have a recorder with me. I'm not writing down notes. Just talking to Callier about, hey, man, tell me about growing up in South Florida, why Auburn, you were so great your freshman year. Did you feel like you had to keep up with that? And, all that kind of stuff. You could sit around and just kind of talk with people. Instead of, like, every time that I see Bo Nix now, right, it's an interview. He's sitting at a podium, and I got to, like, pepper him with questions. I don't have a chance to sit down with him and just BS with him. I can't do it. Just literally can't do it. There's no opportunity for that, and they don't let you contact kids outside of, the Auburn sphere. Not bitching. We've all got struggles in our career, and I'm not digging ditches in Afghanistan. Fair enough. But I just can't get to know the kids like I used to, and it affects things. Hornatia says BS. Gus distrusted media before Trump was ever elected. That's true. But Gus, I don't know. Gus himself has come along in the last couple of years, in my opinion. He'll talk to me, and he'll talk to P. Marsh and, Jason. The people have been around a while. he's been cool. Speaking of that, actually, I went over to see my man P. Marsh, Philip Marshall, who writes for the other site, but who's been a friend of mine for a long time. Really good friend of mine. Hasn't been out of the house much. You know, Philip's a little bit older, so I think he's concerned about, he really doesn't want to get the COVID. And so he's really laying low. And so it just bummed me out because I hadn't seen him. I love hanging out with Philip. So I just went over to see him and hung out over there with he and his wife, Teresa, for, I don't know, 30, 45 minutes, just kind of kicking it with him. I did wear my mask to be extra safe, to make sure I didn't expose him if I am an asymptomatic carrier. I don't think I am, but if I was. And it was just awesome seeing him. Philip's good people. He's real good people. Peyton trying to make a joke. Peyton from the Ole Miss site says, "Is now the time to tell you that I am Amanda?" And then Canoe Man says, "Not funny, Peyton. Not at all. That's creepy." And then Peyton says, "Just kidding." Leif says, "Gus had a weird relationship with the media when he was at Arkansas." You could argue that Gus has had a weird relationship with the media all the time. Except for George, the guy from SI, George Schroeder. Seems like George Schroeder, for whatever reason, just Gus loves that guy. I don't know. I think Ryan D asked earlier what I'm drinking tonight. I'm drinking this Long Branch, which is a type of wild turkey. It says it is Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, but it's oak and Texas mesquite charcoal refined. I don't know what that means. It also has Matthew McConaughey's signature on it, the actor, best known, in my opinion, as Wooderson from Dazed and Confused, but also in other movies. University of Texas enthusiast. Although Natalie Portman is a University of Texas enthusiast too, and I think she's really awesome. And then, of course, Eddie Russell, well known to the Wild Turkey brand. It's good. My man J-Dub got me this for my birthday. This is very gettable. You can get this at your ABC. You can probably get this at Costco, I think. But it's pretty damn good. I've been enjoying the hell out of it tonight. I've had a good amount. I have another little sip here, if you guys don't mind. We're going to get Brian Matthews on the horn here in just a minute. He was tied up with something else, but we're going to add him in just a second. Let's see. Daniel N. says, PM is a good man. He loves AU. Yeah. I mean, I don't know about loving AU, but as reporters, we're not supposed to love AU, but Phillips absolutely 100% good people. And I really, really, I'm not a big fan of the Alabama Sports Writers Association for various reasons. I'm not a member of it, but he should have been in the Alabama Sports Writers Hall of Fame like 10 years ago, in my opinion. I really hope that organization does the right thing and inducts him pretty freaking soon. Because Phillip has done, I don't even want to get into about Phillip. There's people out there that are trying to keep Phillip from getting what he deserves. I mean, I'm not supposed to be talking about Phillip, I guess, theoretically because he works for the competition. But I mean, I love Phillip. His dad, his name is Benny. Probably the greatest sports writer in the history of the state. Wrote about Alabama for the Birmingham newspaper. I mean, he was on top of all that when Alabama was at its best. He covered Alabama because that was the program to cover back then. And Phillip grows up. His dad is like this great sports writer, and he wants to be a sports writer. I mean, can you imagine? It's incredible pressure. I'm going to live up to what my dad did. It's just hard when your dad is that good. Benny Marshall is obviously in the Hall of Fame. He may have been like the first person inducted in the Hall of Fame. I don't know, but he's certainly in it. And Phillip's got to go out there and make his own way, knowing that his dad's a freaking Hall of Famer, and he still kicks ass over a course of 5 decades in this state and counting. And somehow he's not in the Hall of Fame yet, and it just makes me sick to my stomach. It's just bullshit. And I hope that I get to celebrate with him. I mean, not with him. It's his accomplishment completely. He and Teresa and his kids, Chrissy, Jonathan, Ben. But yeah, he's a Hall of Famer, no doubt about it. We got a Hornatius who comes through with a super chat. Appreciate that, sir. Says take a double shot and do a truffle shuffle. I'm not doing a truffle shuffle, but I will take a shot. Of course. I mean, if you're asking me to, I'm going to do it. I mean, that's what I should do. I care about our subscribers. I mean, it's just the right thing to do because you guys are awesome, particularly you, Hornatius. You know I love you. Also, D Lucky comes through with the Jazzy Joe payment plan. Thank you very much for the super chat, sir. D Lucky, my man. And I'm going to continue thinking of the right title for you because you deserve one and you're going to get one. We'll just put it like that. John H. says PM is AU through and through. Canoe Man says, are you calling B-Matt as he is stepping into the shower? You're at least half right on that. Leave it at that. Alpha Tiger, Chief Swoogan. I'm just kidding. He's not a Swoogan. I would imagine Gus has weird relationships with a lot of folks outside media. He takes his wife to Waffle House to celebrate a win and a loss. I don't know as though they go after a loss, do they? And I mean, to be fair, like Christy's so much fun that I would want to go out to eat dinner with her anytime. Pocket Watch says, who doesn't like Phillip? As in, why are they trying to stop him from getting in the Hall of Fame? I don't know as though it's an active thing. I just think there's people out there, obviously enough people, who think that, I don't know, he hasn't done enough. And if you want to know my opinion, again, I'm not a member of the Alabama Sports Writers Association. Probably don't even deserve to be. But there's people in the Hall of Fame that have done half as much as Phillip Marshall has. And they're in the Hall of Fame. I don't know why he's not in there. And the people who know what I'm talking about, people who know, who have been voting people in the Hall of Fame the last 10 years, you know who I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about, and you need to make it right. Canoe Man says they go to IHOP after losses. And you mean the International House of Burgers? Mm-hmm. I think there's people that don't like Phillip, man. There's people that don't like anybody. I mean, my dad's like the nicest dude ever. There's people that don't like him. I don't know what happened to me. I'm not very nice. Try to be, but I'm not. Okay, Alpha Tiger, this is a great question. How come we aren't hearing from Nate? Surely he's back in Auburn slaying some swamp donkeys this summer. I have some bad news for you. Well, or good news, depending on how you look at it. He is actually engaged to be married to a lovely young lady, and he has been for a minute, and I think he's taken it very seriously. I think he's very, very fired up about this girl. So, and I think I have every reason to believe she's very fired up about him, although I have not asked her. But he's getting married. I texted him earlier. Nate is not the guy that answers me real fast. He's got other shit going on, so he didn't answer me. Hey, caller, welcome to the show. How you doing?
What's happening, JG?
Hey, what up, D Lucky?
Chilling, man.
I told you earlier.
Saturday night.
I got
I'm
this.
brain.
I've got a title for you. I just haven't quite figured out what it is yet.
Like I said, man, I've been around. I'm not going anywhere. We'll appreciate it if I get one. No worries if I don't.
Does it bother you that we don't have David the Wizard on the show, or is it actually better that way?
It depends. If he comes back with good stories, then better.
But if he's just going to babble, if he just babbles, then it's worse.
Yeah. If he's going to come on and talk about nothing, then yeah. Keep it moving. Keep it moving.
So what's been going on, bro?
Pat Dye passing. Auburn alumni had a lot of the same sentiments that I have. I'm a little bit older than him, but my experience growing up as an Auburn fan was noticeably different, I'm sure, than the folks who came right before me. I didn't know any better. I didn't know that Auburn wasn't supposed to be a really good program. I didn't know that we, in theory, had some reason to feel inferior to that school up the road. It was just one of those things that, when I grew up watching Auburn, they were always competitive. They were always good. They were always ready to beat your ass, and did a pretty good bit of that against Alabama. So it didn't come as a surprise to me, you know. And it was funny because growing up, there were kids that absolutely had, you know, been brainwashed by their parents, but they gave me a hard time because I was an Auburn fan, and it was just lost on me. I did not understand why they thought I was supposed to be so, you know, bothered or frightened or concerned about, you know, Alabama in a game against them. Like, just the next team on schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And that was all Pat Dye. He just created an environment and an approach to the program, and it filtered through and remained long after he was gone. So I think you see a lot of him still in the good parts of the games that show up now. I think we've been known as hardcore defense is part of what we have, and that was him. We weren't going to get pushed over. We were going to fight, battle to the end of the game, regardless. And the whole hard work mantra was absolutely part of him. So I think that showed. And like I said, made my life easier growing up. Didn't know it, you know, real time didn't know it. But, you know, looking back on it, I was like, oh, so this is why all those Alabama fans thought I was supposed to be concerned about them.
Yeah. Yeah, he really got after their ass, didn't he? I mean, the first time he met Bear Bryant at midfield, he was like, I'm going to get after your ass right now. And you may win, but
exactly.
I'm going to work you over, man. I'm going to make you earn it.
Well, he had that attitude about them, and he had that attitude despite everybody that Auburn played. His thing was that, you know, we were going to cost a team possibly two games, because if they managed to suit up anybody for the week after we played them, they probably were going to lose that game too. They were going to know that they had played an Auburn team when they got ready to suit up the week after they played us, because we were going to be physical with them all game long. And I still have admiration for that, you know, to this day.
Yeah, he permanently changed Auburn's expectations for the better. And they've been better since he got here. I mean, that's the bottom line. Since 81, Auburn has been a top-tier SEC program. I mean, not necessarily every single year, but in general, yes. And he changed that. Yeah,
he changed the tier that we were on, without a doubt. And like I said, I'll forever be grateful for that.
Word. Now, I mean, I don't want to assume how old you are, but are you around 40-ish?
I am 45.
Word, okay. So, I mean, yeah. I don't know. You were living the Barfield days a little bit, weren't you?
No. Barfield was right before I started following. My first game was like 82. We had just moved to Opelika, and we went to like the first night game at Jordan Hare.
All right.
And so that was that was already there at that point. And that was the first game that I watched and been following and loving ever since. That I can recall, you know.
Yeah.
I might have watched games before. But that one I was physically in the stadium and vividly remember that game and all the ones since.
Yeah. That's a good time to start getting going as an Auburn guy, man. That's a great time.
He was really fortunate. Yeah, it was really fortunate.
It's perfect.
We couldn't have asked for a better situation.
Anything else piquing your interest, bro?
Just society today. We want to thank you for leaving the bunker as open as you can for conversation and engagement on the social justice protests that are ongoing. A lot of different opinions, and I wish people were a little bit more open-minded, to be honest with you. That's been the most frustrating thing that I've seen, just bunker specific. Just a lot of people are just locked in, man. They just are not moving off of positions, just not willing to listen to anyone else. So, I mean, I just try to make that a general practice in life. I don't know everything. I don't know everything about everything. So I just try to be open-minded. If someone else has a different opinion, to at least hear them out, and not just wait to reply to what they say. So hopefully we'll see a little bit more of that as time goes on. But I appreciate you at least giving folks a forum to try, even if the participants are less willing than they should be to listen and hear each other out.
I try to leave some of them up because some of them are honest to goodness discussions about it, and I really want to leave that stuff up. But some of them do get a little trolly or pre-programmed or whatever, and I move those over to Dear Diary. But we had a really good one from Killer Kong the other day, and even now, I mean, I think it's in page 3 or 4. It's still on point, so I thought that was worthwhile. That's good. I think we should have those conversations. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, the thing here is, I mean, most situations you get into, you're with someone who has a different opinion. With you, it's because you have nothing in common in general. You know, it's just like you're just so different. So it's like at least this one thing that we have in common with each other as being Auburn fans should let you know that the person isn't a total asshole. I mean, they got to have some redeeming quality about them if they manage to pick this team or go to this school or whatever. Yeah. Something led them to this site. So that's just my 2 cents on that. Like I said, I just wish everybody would just pause for a minute and just, you know, hopefully listen a little more intently and open up their hearts for the possibility of seeing the world differently than they did before.
That's a perfect D Lucky call, man. Concise, to the point, got some beef to it. Don't drag it out. That's what you do, man.
I appreciate that, brother.
All right, D Lucky. We'll see you next week.
All right, man. Stay safe.
See you, man. There he is, D Lucky. Hornacia said his title should be Pithy Poster. Pithy meaning concise, and he is that way. But I don't know if pithy. I don't know. It sounds too much like pissy, which he definitely is not that. I don't know. I need to do it, but I just need to come up with the right word for him. We're going to get it. We're going to get there. I don't feel like we've done a show until D Lucky calls in these days. Glad to have him calling in. Let's see. There's been a lot of chatter on here about Ruxy Poo. Can't really gather what exactly is going on there. Looks like the Rye guy is about to bounce. Is going to call it a night, guys. See you on the bunk. Hey, appreciate you joining the bunker here. Here in the last couple weeks. Pachuta as well, I think, is gone. I haven't seen him post in a while, but 2 of our newer members. So if you see them around, be nice to them, please, and don't accuse them of stuff with mini horses or whatever. Let's just be nice. Canoe Man's always really nice, but we've got some other folks that can be mean. Not necessarily in this chat, but on the bunker. Indeed. We're going to call BMAT now. I've not heard back from Nate. You know, Nate is a post-millennial, so you would think he would have his phone on his hip all the time, like me, who's an old man. But he actually doesn't. So, because it's kind of a thing with him where he doesn't want to be, like, tied to his phone all the time. Like, it's a conscious thing for him because he's just kind of a worldly person. So we weren't able to get him on the horn. But I did get BMAT, and he just needed a few minutes before he got on the horn. But we're going to add BMAT now. Oops. So we'll get Sir Brian Matthews on the phone. Following up D Lucky, of course.
Hello.
Who this right here?
What's up?
Hey, what up, B-Matt? Where you at?
B-Matt. Guess.
What'd you say?
I said guess.
I think this is B-Matt.
Yes. Guess where I'm.
Oh, my gosh. Did I lose him? No, I got you. What's up, B-Matt?
Guess where I'm at.
You're somewhere that doesn't have great self-service.
Oh, really? Is it that bad?
No, it's better now. Where are you at?
In my bed.
Oh.
Watching Netflix.
You don't seem out of breath, though.
Well, I mean, I got back from the walk about 45 minutes ago, so I've had time, to rest up and catch my breath and stuff. So
Were you walking in the dark, sir?
Yes, because it's much nicer temperature in the dark. Yes.
But shouldn't you go right into the belly of the beast and go ahead and walk in the middle of the day when it's really hot?
Well, I did my 3.5 mile walk, the big one, at around 9 a.m. So it's pretty humid out. It wasn't hot, but it was humid.
So the 3.5 mile walk wasn't enough. You needed to have another one.
Yeah, I needed to top it off. So to get the 1,300.
13,000.
13,000. Yeah.
And we learned when you and I were walking around the dome there in Atlanta that that one lap around the dome is different number of steps for you and me, right?
I know, that's right, because I got the long-ass legs.
And I got little gerbil legs. I was telling the folks on the show you weren't quite ready to come on the show earlier. I needed to give you a little bit more time. So somebody had suggested that maybe you were in the shower, and I said they were about half right.
I had to see a man about a dog, right? Drop the kids off at the pool.
You had to see a man, yeah. I got it. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Canoe Man says
By the way,
go ahead. I'm sorry, B-Man.
I have a story to tell about my walks.
About your what?
Yeah, about my walks.
Yeah, let's hear it, bro.
5 ago, when and she goes on the walk, and she likes me to stop halfway through the walk or during the walk and kneel down so she can give me a hug during the walks.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Isn't that sweet? Yeah. So Winnie likes to give hugs when she's on her walks.
That's awesome. I know you love your dogs, bro.
I really do love my dogs. Yes, I do. I love Biscuit, and I love Winnie now.
We miss Biscuit, but we love Winnie too.
Yeah.
What's got your mind right now as the ace beat writer for the Ace Auburn side? I mean, what's kind of got your professional mind right now?
Well, professionally, I'm excited that the players are back in town. They're going to start working out here soon, and we can actually get back to talking a little bit more football in the present tense. Not what happened before or what we think is going to happen, more what is happening. So I think that's a big plus for us, and I think it's good for those players to be back too. I agree with the take that I've seen from other people that it's probably safe for them to be back in school and back among their teammates and coaches and stuff in a more structured environment. I just think it's better for them, for their education, for their health and well-being, for their physical fitness. Everything that goes into being a 19 or 20-year-old. I think they're better off being in college. So I think that's a plus for them. And now I think once they get out there and get out and get an opportunity to go out there with Bo and start throwing it around and doing some things, I think that'll be great too. I think I just have a feeling that Bo, even though he missed out in the spring, that he's going to pick up his offense real quick and pass it on to his skill players really quickly, and they're going to have a pretty good idea, as far as implementation and running this offense before they even get started in fall.
Yeah, so they got tested yesterday. They're supposed to be getting their results today, doing physicals, more physicals tomorrow, and then hopefully they're ready to go Monday morning for their workouts at Ryan Russell, and they're going to try to get them back in shape is basically what you're looking at, right?
Yep, small groups starting out. They're going to have to assess where everybody is, and some people are going to be in great shape, some people, not so much. And just try to get everybody back up to speed. And I think pretty soon after that, they'll get out there with their captain's practices again, and that'll be a great chance for Bo Nix to lead the offense and all the other leaders step up all the other position groups. Auburn's got some good seniors at receiver and at running back, and some veterans on the offensive line. Not a whole lot of experience there, but if you look throughout the team, there's some veterans at almost every position, and I think that'll be really good when they get up there in late June and July and start trying to put things together for the fall.
Word. Canoe Man says, question for B-Matt, what are you watching on Netflix? Serious question, because he has solid viewing choices.
Yeah. Well, we picked this show called The Reckoning. Mm-hmm. What was the other show that this guy was in? What was the other show this guy was in that we're watching? He was Rectify? He was in Rectify, and now he's in this detective show called Reckoning. It's kind of a weird show. I'm not sure I'd recommend it. Unless it's really bad, I'm just watching till the end. But it's kind of like a detective mystery, serial killer type deal where we're trying to figure out who it is and how they're going to catch him type thing.
All right.
So,
and also another question. Question from Alpha Tiger says, what do you think of Tate's hair?
Tate's hair.
My hair.
Oh, I have not. Have you done something? I have not seen hair. What have you done?
No, the same shit. Like where I color it and it's long and I leave it high and all that kind of stuff.
I think it's beautiful.
Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome. My hair is. I don't have haircuts since February, so mine is kind of like sticking out in different ways, and I look kind of like a mad professional though. I think I'm going to keep it for a little while.
No.
You need to get you need to get your neck hair cut, I think.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. I get these crazy hairs that go out of my neck and then out of my ears, and I got to get those.
It's because you're old, B-Mac.
Like now, real old people have them coming out over here. Mine grows them like the lobes, like the edge of the ears out. And like a bunch of it's just like one or two, little hairs here and there. It's it's kind of annoying.
Yeah, I understand. It happens, man.
Hairs. Yeah.
B-Matt, I want you to get back to doing whatever you were doing in the bed.
Okay, I will. Our anniversary was yesterday, by the way.
No shit. What is it, like 15 years?
27 years. How about that?
Yvonne doesn't seem that old, dude. You must have met her when she was really young.
I plucked her first week of college. So.
Oh, there you go.
1988, fall of '88. Yep.
I'm a big fan
Our
of
first
Yvonne.
date was to I think it was Ryan's, the old Ryan's, and to play putt-putt.
Ryan's? You took her to Ryan's?
Now, this is not the Ryan's that like the chain Ryan's. There used to be the only really good restaurant in Auburn was Ryan's. It was a local establishment. They had pretty good food and pretty nice setup.
Oh.
Trust me, everybody in the 80s took their dates to Ryan's, most of them.
Okay. I feel better about it now.
Yeah. Was not like a Ryan Steakhouse type thing.
Yeah, right. It was much better.
Yep.
All right, brother. I will see you at Voodoo this next week. We'll do a show, and we'll, once again, do the thing.
Sounds fantastic. Everybody take care out there.
All right, B-Matt. You behave yourself.
You too. Peace out.
See ya. There he is. The man, the myth, the legend, B-Matt. He also deserves to be a knight. Sir Brian Matthews. Let's see. I did ask the questions you guys asked of me. B-Matt has nice hair. It's just kind of gray, He doesn't color or anything. Let's see. Where's Huntsville Tiger when you need him is what Alpha Tiger says. Dude, Huntsville Tiger is a swoogan. Swoogan. Tell him I told you that. John H says, wing night, all you can eat at Ryan's. Ooh, man. Whoa. Now, Chip is going back in the time machine there. He says, Quincy's yeast rolls. Yo, now, so Quincy's, first of all, I didn't know there was one in Auburn. But I've been to Quincy's. When we went, my wife and our friends, we went on spring break 93. You guys might remember this because that was the spring break when all the weather hell broke loose and they had like blizzards in North Georgia and all that shit. We went down through South Carolina instead, just on a whim, coming from Lexington. And we ended up eating at a Quincy's in Spartanburg or Columbia. I don't remember, somewhere like that. And I mean, it was like, these yeast rolls are insane. I'd never had anything like that before. And we lost our shit over the Quincy's yeast rolls, which Chip is pointing out. Apparently, they must have had one in Auburn, which you guys are talking about. But man, Quincy's was good back in the day. I'm sad that they're gone, but they've been gone for a minute. Canoe Man says Huntsville Tiger is the definition of a swoogan. We'll have to get a ruling from Alpha Tiger on that one, bro. Alpha Tiger says, does he? I don't even know what this means. Does he always take a pre-coital dump? And we need to end this call so he can celebrate his anniversary properly. Oh, my goodness. AU Taxman says the Huntsville Tiger is busy giving the LEA the business. Oh, yeah, there was recently some developments on the bunker where Huntsville Tiger is now apparently a committed member of the Ball ZFG group movement as helmed by Knotted Shorts, and I believe Pete Keller Dog is involved with that as well. I think Pete's been getting after my ass on the bunker again, which he tends to do. But I actually like Pete. He doesn't like me, but I like him all right. He's funny. He says I'm a hypocrite. I don't really understand what that means. I don't really know what he's talking about on that. He keeps saying I'm a hypocrite, but I don't really know what I'm doing that's hypocritical. In the interim, Mr. Young Nate has gotten back with me. And AU Texan says there was a Quincy's on Ann Street just off the interstate. Yeah, it's not there anymore. I think, like, when I first got to Montgomery in 97, I think there was a Quincy's on South Boulevard that either was right in the last days of being open, or it just closed. But it didn't actually hit it. And then Chip says the cafeteria-style steakhouse needs to make a comeback. Yeah, this might not be the best time to do that. As you guys know, I'm not the biggest COVID scare guy, because not that I'm not taking it lightly. I'm just saying I don't think it's quite the threat to the biggest portion of the American population as we thought it was in the beginning. I mean, if you're older and you've got significant health issues, specifically cardiovascular, or liver or kidney, yeah, you need to be really careful. But if you're just like a regular old person, and I'm not saying that you can't, there's people like me, regular old people, that get it and they die. It happens, and I'm not trying to deny that. I'm just saying, like for the most part, people who get it that are my age and younger, they're just getting sniffles. They don't feel good for a little while. They're going to make it. Mortality rate is not that high. Hornacia says, but I still respect the rules, and I wear a mask when I go out, and I wash my hands all the time, and I really don't go out that much, really. I try to limit it. So, I mean, I'm following the rules, and I'm being a responsible human. At the same time, the way that I was so scared in March, I'm not scared like that right now, and I don't think I'm going to be again. Johnny B. Good says you're not with the Death Bros. Let's call it the Corona Bros. No, I'm not with them. Canoe Man says, I cannot wait for the call when BMAT calls in while snorkeling. You guys crack me up. All right, we're going to get young Nate on the horn. We have not had Nate on the show for a minute. Actually, I might say a minute and a half. I don't even know if his number's in the database here. You know, he's not in here, actually. He loves to say he's from Orlando, but he's got it. I don't know. He's got an Orlando number, but he's from Huntsville, which is where he's been for the last however long. So we're going to get up with young Nate and see what's up.
Hello.
Is this young Nate?
It sure is.
What's up,
Who
Nate?
is?
How you doing, Nathan King?
Nothing much. How's the brain drain crew?
Are you in the Huntsville area?
I am.
Do you feel safe up there?
What kind, like COVID-19 safe or like
Protester
societally safe? What are we talking?
Societally, yeah.
I feel good. I feel all right.
Okay.
It's the same as Auburn, I'd say. It's pretty good.
Word.
I sleep well at night.
Is that because you have good pillows, or is that because you have a clean conscience?
Both, plus some other things, you know.
Hey, now you talking about some sleep aids?
Sleep what?
What? Let me ask you. You wrote a fantastic column earlier in the week about you kind of interning with Coach Dye back a few years ago, and all the incredible stories that you were kind of exposed to during that period of time. The folks here on the chat are just dying to hear more from you about Coach Dye and just kind of your perspective on him as a person and the guy you got to know.
Yeah, well, I tried to outline as much of that as I could in the story. I forgot actually what came up a few days later, which was that tree. I knew about that tree that he was buried under. He never said explicitly that he wanted to be buried under it. Of course, it was reported that Jimmy Rain said that he told him that just a few weeks before he died. Yeah, but I knew he had this tree that was from part of the original Tumors Oaks. That was the one thing I forgot to include in there. Everything else, I tried to just rack my brain for as much as I could remember. What I've said to people recently in talking about it is that I wouldn't define him as a sweet old man, like people who say, a sweet old man, a sweet old woman. I wouldn't define him as warm, but definitely was still a really loving and caring person. And he made you feel really good because if you ever, helped him or he just cared about his people. If that makes any sense, he cared about the people around him. He cared about the people who helped him, because one thing he always told his players in those old speeches and just everything he's always talked about is that he felt like everybody who was a part of Auburn, everybody who was a part of his teams, were just as much to thank for the success as he was. Every single person contributed, and so he's just that kind of person. And that's just kind of the impact that he left on me. And in my short time with him, just a few months, was just that it wasn't difficult. I didn't grow up an Auburn person. I wasn't around Auburn a lot. I didn't know a lot about him. But after just a few months, it wasn't difficult to see why Auburn fell in love with him so quickly.
Yeah, and he treated you with a lot of respect, even though you were a young dude and didn't necessarily know the history, right?
Yeah, and the thing was, we didn't really talk about. He didn't care how much I knew about football. I don't think he ever even knew that I was I don't know if I was. I can't remember if I was still PR back then, but that I wanted to do something in sports. The sports journalism major. I don't know if he ever even knew that, because football didn't come up very often. Again, he wanted to talk about he would rather talk about his maple trees. He would rather talk about his dogs and his horses and Mexican food, and it was just. I think he had talked about football for his entire life, and he had coached his entire life, and he had written books about it. And now it's like this is his time. This is his place where he can do what he wants. And so he wanted to discuss other things and do other things every day, and we were perfectly fine with that. Whatever he wanted to do, was, of course, it was a blessing to tag along, because those memories are really, really awesome now looking back.
We got a question from the chat. Canoe Man wants to know, how did you get kind of hooked up with Coach Dye and that gig?
Yeah, it was a really common internship at Auburn. They actually have about 4 or 5 interns per semester. So many so that I know, like one of my friends who used to be in band with me, she was an intern. One of my friends I met in classes, she was an intern. And then when I first met you, Jay, you knew one of the interns as well. So like they do a lot of interns every year. There's a lot of people. They need about 4 or 5 of them. So it was just an application thing. Basically, before my junior year, nothing broke for me. I didn't get any good journalism internships. I didn't get anything I applied for. And so I kind of thought, all right, well, I got to find something here in Auburn. And so one of my friends suggested I apply for it. And so I just drove out to the farm one day and did a quote-unquote interview. It was pretty much her just telling me what I was going to do. I never really got interviewed for it. They kind of looked at my resume and said, yep. So I guess they had a spot or 2 open, and they just let me in. So I didn't know what to expect. I thought it was going to be mostly like radio and managing the property. I did not know I was going to be planting maple trees. I did not know I was going to be wrangling up dogs. But, of course, I wouldn't trade it for anything. It was funny. The more it went on, I started to realize that this is not at all what I expected.
That sounds like a crazy internship, dude, honestly. That's a good kind of internship, though. I mean, it teaches you something you didn't even expect to learn,
Yeah. I mean, I was really glad that I had it, because my 2 summer internships while I was in college were with y'all, obviously. I mean, it was an internship in the summer, and then obviously it extended when the year started. But that was, what I got to learn, kind of my craft, and get a lot of experience in that. And so I was glad, of course I didn't know at the time that I was going to get something like that, but I was glad now looking back that I had something that, maybe a little different. Maybe it's not necessarily journalism related and related to my job, but like you said, it taught me lessons. And I mean, now looking back on it, especially because he's gone, everything about that is just so priceless now.
Yeah. I mean, obviously no one's going to experience that again. That's sad, but it is what it is. Nate, anything in the Auburn athletic sphere that's really catching your interest right now? I know that the football players are coming back to campus right now. I'm kind of struggling to get some information on the testing situation, how that went. But other than that, pretty big deal for us sports writers.
Yeah, I'm kind of just like you. I'd like to know, how many players tested positive, because it'd be so ignorant to think that none would. Because it'd be no fault of Auburn, people are like, because when Bama had 5 players test, I think people started just joking about Bama or whatever, but it's like, you got to realize that these people are coming from all across the country. Tuscaloosa did not give them COVID-19, similar to how Auburn is not going to give it to them. They're just testing, coming across the country. They're testing where they got it from their places they were staying. So I'm interested to find out how many people did test positive, because it's got to be a few. There's no way.
No way.
Maybe there'll be an anomaly here and there, but I mean, there's so many kids. So yeah, I'm interested to see how that looks going forward. I don't know about you, but it kind of made me a little nervous when Gus said that the SEC and the NCAA decision makers are kind of in a wait and see mode. They're kind of looking to see how schools handle this first part, and then they'll decide on the in-person practices. That kind of makes me nervous, because that means some people could screw it up for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, that means if this part doesn't go well, then they may just can practices as a whole later in the summer and push them back. And then, who knows what that looks like. So I'm blending optimism and anxiety a little bit, because I want it to go well, of course, but honestly, I'm a little scared. If the cases start breaking out, I don't really know what you're going to do. So.
Right. I almost feel like the NCAA doesn't have an answer. They're just kind of expecting these big colleges to figure it out on their own, and that's weird. The NCAA should have more guidance than that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with what a lot of people have said in the past few months, that it seems like now more than ever we kind of need an NCAA czar, somebody, or a college football czar. Excuse me, we have an NCAA czar, though he doesn't really do much, but somebody who can create guidelines for college football, and does it in a little bit better manner than the NCAA does. But I mean, I'd be confident in Auburn figuring it out for themselves. Obviously, Doc Goodlett is a heck of a guy. He's smart. I feel like their task force is smart at Auburn, and I believe Alan Green when he said that Auburn has one of the best plans out there, and Gus was kind of hitting on that a few times, saying that not a lot of people are doing the 7-day quarantine thing. Not a lot of schools are requiring their players to only go to the workouts and the dorms for 7 days once they get back. So I think honestly what Auburn is hoping is that if this does go to crap, and if the NCAA does just say, all right, everybody figure it out for yourselves. If you can play, great. If you can't, you can't. Then Auburn will be in good shape, and maybe they'll only play a few teams on their schedule, but at least they'll be able to play.
Yeah, it's pretty smart. Nate, you're obviously a beast. You know how I feel about you. You know I love you, and everybody on the site loves you. Particularly Ruxman, he thinks you're the greatest. So you're doing a hell of a job.
Hey, I love you and them too. Hey, I have a question though.
Yeah, lay it on me.
Every time I get in and wait for you to call, I just sit on the call. That's how I knew BMAT was on, and I just kind of scroll through the chat. What was everybody congratulating me about?
I don't know, that you weren't a swoogan. I don't really know. We've had a lot of calls, and I haven't been able to keep up with the chat in the last 20 or 30 minutes, so I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. Well, if somebody wants to refresh things, and I just saw like 3 straight. Wow, congrats, mate! I was like, what? What happened? What transpired? So
maybe it was because people thought that you were hitting up swamp donkeys, as Alpha Tiger would say, in Auburn this summer. And then I explained to them swamp donkey meaning a woman with maybe loose morals. And I explained that young Nate was actually, you're getting married to the love of your life, and that you weren't hanging out with swamp donkeys. And I think maybe at that point they were congratulating you on your engagement. Yeah, they're coming through now. Alpha Tiger says engagement. Ruxpin says engagement. So that's what it is.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, thank you, everybody.
The bunker loves long-term relationships. So congratulations, Nate.
Well, thank you so much.
All right, Nate. You be good out there, brother, and I appreciate you being on the show, of course.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Y'all be safe and have a fun night.
All right, Nate. Be good. There he is. Young Nate. The man. He's our intern. The kid's going places. He's good people. He's a good kid. He's way better than I was at that age. I'll tell you that. You could argue that he's better than I am, period. But he's definitely better than I was at that age. Hell, I didn't even start writing sports until I was 23, 24, something like that. I was aiming to be a psychologist, like a counseling psychologist. And I got to UK and I started wanting to write sports, just kind of out of the blue. My wife was like, administrative assistant was like, do it. I was like, sweet, let's try it. Why not? Fuck it. And so we just kind of went on like that. And a lot of you guys are probably like, JG, you probably should have stayed with counseling, bro, because you're not very good. But I don't care if you think that. Because I'm a Commodore. And so it all worked out. At least until the COVID hit. Cardea is in the house, and he is ticked off. First of all, Cardea, you're a badass because Pachuta was in the chat earlier, and he's one of our newest members on the site, and we appreciate you very much for kind of bridging that gap and telling Pachuta that he needed to be a member of the site. We're glad to have him. Second of all, you may be upset. You may be ticked off because I was disparaging you earlier as a Warzone player. But to be fair, you do describe yourself as a human shield. John H. correctly says, just don't bring up your Nalsminger article from 2003. That did happen. 2003 may be exactly when it happened. I think at that time, BMAT was the Commodore. Is that right? You guys might know better than I do. And he hired me to be like a columnist. I was at the Montgomery Advertiser at the time, and I was like, hell yeah, I'd love to do that. And so I wrote a few columns that were just kind of like whatever. And then I wrote a column about, I think it was about Hugh Null. During 2003, which things were not going well in the beginning. They opened up with a loss to Southern Cal, which I predicted on the radio, and certain people on the beat called me an idiot and said I didn't know what I was talking about, but I was actually right. And they lost. No, that's not a lamp, though. And then they lost to Georgia Tech. And some point in that season, I said that I thought Hugh Null was an elite offensive line coach. You know, I just didn't know if he was quite ready for offensive coordinator. And the bunker just lost their minds. The bunker was like, anybody that says Hugh Null is an elite offensive line coach is a freaking moron, which maybe, I don't know, maybe that's true. I happen to think Hugh Null was pretty damn good, but I can understand why some people would think that he wasn't very good. AU Taxman, I was about to get to that part of the story. He said Will Woods in 2003. I think he was gone by then. No, Will Woods was there. Will Woods, I guess, technically was the Commodore, and BMAT was his B writer at that point. That's right. So, anyway, the backlash from that column was so bad, me complimenting Hugh Null, that Will very reluctantly, I mean, I don't know what he would tell you now, but that's what it was at the time, was like, I got to let you go because I just don't think you can continue to write columns. Nobody's going to listen. So, that was the end of my career as a columnist at auburnsports.com until many years later. I don't talk about it too much because I know there's people like John that have been around long enough to remember, but yeah. Gavin08 says, have we discussed the crowning of a new Bunker's Worst poster winner? We have not. I believe that was Stump Fan, right? I think Stump won that one. I personally don't think he's the worst poster. I understand why he annoys the piss out of you guys. I really do, because he kind of annoys me too, but he's not the worst poster. He's the worst poster because he has a take that many of you guys don't agree with, because he's an alarmist when it comes to COVID, and he's also he's fairly liberal in his political views, and he's very outspoken about it, which obviously doesn't go over well with our mostly Republican conservative folks. But I personally don't think he's the worst poster. No, I mean, look at it this way. Not that you guys care about my opinion, but I mean, I've got like 3 or 4 people blocked, and it definitely ain't Stump. I can't imagine a situation where I block Stump. Like, I don't really understand where he's coming from, and I don't get it. But like, he's cool. I mean, whatever. Whether or not he's probably not on the right path. I mean, that's my opinion. He's all right, man. For me, he's not even in the picture for worst poster. But if you guys voted him, that's cool. And I get it. He can be really annoying. I just don't think he's the worst poster. John H. says it had to be Stump. I mean, I kind of get it. I mean, it's just like, it's almost like it's its own meme, you know, that Stump's the worst poster. Like, because, again, he's kind of breaking away from the way the bunker feels about a lot of stuff. I mean, I think in general, the bunker feels like COVID's overhyped, and he's trying to hype up COVID. And I think in general, the bunker's kind of conservative, and he's not. And so he's kind of breaking the other direction. And, you know, I think we got some folks on the board that are a little more liberal than others. I mean, and Stump's one of them. DM8's one of them. One Wing is one of them. I just don't personally have a problem with that. But if you guys do, it's cool. Canoe Man says he campaigned for it, stole it from Ghost. Okay, so Ghost of Tallahassee Tiger. Like, to me, this is just one man voting. To me, Ghost is worse than Stump. Like, and I don't, Ghost doesn't really bother me either, but Ghost is kind of like, he's there to shit on stuff, right? I mean, it does a lot of that. But I also want to, first of all, both of those guys have been around a long time, right? Stump's been around forever. And Ghost of Tallahassee Tiger was gone for a while, but he's back. And, he's had some bad takes in the past. But shit, we've all had bad takes. I want to give a shout out to Bob himself for a super chat here late. Appreciate you, Bob. You are the man. You know that. She's going to try and call one more time before bed. Damn, I missed your call. Tell me when to call JG. Want to talk about Pooker Robertson for a minute. Pooker's the man, dude. I love Pooker. Let's see. Ruck says Stump wanting to win made him the worst, but also made me vote for Ghost. I mean, Ghost is. I mean, seriously, if you're just asking my opinion, I'm just one man, but Ghost is way worse than Stump, in my opinion. But I don't think Ghost is the worst. It would have to be some just turd. It'd have to be somebody who just sucks all the time. I don't want to name those people, but there's some that just suck all the time. They have no value at all. John H. says, the War Eagle Kine is just as bad. He's gotten pretty bad here lately, but I actually had a conversation with him, like a real-life conversation with him in the last week, and I don't know, it changed my opinion on him a little bit. He's actually a pretty cool guy. He had done something or said something that I thought was too much, and he agreed. Hey, caller, welcome to the show. How you doing?
How you doing, JG?
Word, who I got on the horn here?
Who do you think it is? It is Bob.
Bob himself. What up, bro?
Nothing much. Just got back from being emasculated. My brother-in-law pulled me out of the woods when my golf cart died with his diesel-powered Kubota. So my nuts have been put in the drawer for the year.
You just got emasculated, bro.
Yeah, that was bad. But I realized in listening to my call-ins from before, I have a delay on my phone and a muffle, so I apologize if you never not hear me very well.
You do muffle a little bit, I will say that. I don't notice the delay.
And I might need a new phone. But do you know the legend of Pooker Robertson?
I don't know who that is, bro.
All right, let me explain who this is, and I hope a lot of people listening will know. I grew up largely in Opelika, but a lot in Chambers County, Gold Hill, Lafayette, in this area. And George Robertson, a.k.a. Pooka. Before the Jeff Berger days, he started hosting Auburn players on his farm to come hunt, fish, barbecue, cook steaks, whatever. And he was very close with Pat Dye, and he started, being somewhat of a father figure to these players on campus, and just I like to think was a large reason that a lot of these kids kept their shit together, because he was a father figure to them. So, I mean, I remember when I was 16 years old, had a little 2-wheel drive Toyota, killed a doe, first time ever, with shotgun with a slug, whatever. And in my excitement, trying to leave my property to go home, drove over a tree, got it stuck, ran out to the dirt road, and there were two drunks in an El Camino coming down the road, stopped and picked me up and said, where you need to go, and told them where. Anyway, they took me to Puka's house, and by this time it was 10 o'clock at night. This guy lived on a dirt road out here in Chambers County with a screen door, never locked his door, front door, back door, always open, and basically cut the light on in his room, and he just walked up and said, hey, son. He said, what you need? I said, I'm stuck. Got up, put his clothes on, put his hat on, and, drove me and pulled me out. But anyway, and I like to ramble. That's pretty much my thing.
Yeah.
No point, just talk. So I apologize for that. But you need to research George Robertson, Puka Robertson, in his relationship with the Auburn football team, especially in the 80s and 90s, because he was a father figure to many. And one cool thing is he died early last year, and I went to see him. He had a stroke. He had 2 or 3 strokes, and I went to see him after his latest stroke, and he couldn't really. You could tell he was happy to see you. He'd smile. He'd look at you really bright, but he couldn't verbalize what he wanted to say. But he could say a few terms that were like burned into his vocabulary. So we'd sit there, and I'd say, "How are you doing, Puka?" And he said, "I'm good. Are you? God damn it! God damn it!" And then he couldn't say what he wanted to, but he could say, and pardon me, but he could say GD. So he was so frustrated. So I said, Puka, and I knew like he loved a steak, but he loved a hamburger better. But he drank Old Granddad, which is a splash of water. That was his deal, and nobody judged him for it. but the last visit, I said, Puka, I said, you want me to? I said, I'm gonna cook some burgers tomorrow. You want me to bring you one? And he tried to say something a couple times, and finally just nodded yes. And so one of the last meals he had was one of my burgers. And I know I'm not doing this any justice, and there's pretty much no story, but if you will look back and talk to the people that are deeply embedded into Auburn sports through the 80s and 90s and ask them about Puka, George Robertson,
they don't know.
They will give you story after story after story.
Word. That's good stuff. I hadn't even heard that name, bro. That's good. No,
that's deep-seated Auburn tradition. He told me a story one time. Jeff Berger was such a renegade that he shot 2 does in the field in front of the head game warden's pasture, and was going to be locked up, and apparently Puka went over to smooth things out. So like I said, I'm not really telling a story. I'm trying to plant a seed. If you will do some research and ask a few people, ask David Housel about Puka Robertson, because he will give you story after story.
Yeah, I know Puka. He's a pretty good guy.
But I know I normally call, and I think I entertain myself more than the others, and I'm not giving much substance here. But like I'm right now, I'm on my back porch at our farm in Lafayette, and it's awesome. But a part of us died last year when our buddy down the street is no longer available. But if you will, just ask a few people in the Auburn community about Puka, and they will give you. I mean, he was one of, if I can say, the backbones of Auburn football through the 80s and the 90s. Just from showing some, a few kids a good time out here at the farm, and so, like I said, I'm sorry I'm not giving you more information.
No, you're good, man. You're good.
Yeah, but look into that. Those kind of people don't grow on trees. So.
Bob himself, you're an absolute beast, brother.
All right. Well, hey, once again, I apologize for my ramblings, but I appreciate your time. But seriously, look into that. And I think other people might quote here on the chat that know about him. But anytime, before the bunker was here that I knew of, or before social media, if you want to know what happened, you went out to Puka's and had a hamburger, and he'd tell you what was going on. And he always told me this. He said, you know how I know what's going on? I was like, no. He said, "You act like an Indian, so you put your ear to the ground," which I didn't know what that meant at the time. But he basically he just listened to the gossip, basically. But do some research there, and I promise you will find more stories than you could ever hope to publish.
All right, I'll do that. Bob Mapplethorpe.
All right, buddy. Hey, well, once again, thanks for tolerating. Let me summarize this real quick. I know you got to go, but I woke up at 6:00 and went fishing. Then came back and woke up my son and my nieces and nephews at 8 to go fishing, which started with a screwdriver, then about 4 beers, and then we drank about 2 bottles of champagne with me and my sister and my dad and stepmom. Then basically the day has not stopped. So once again, trying to describe my ramblings, it's been a great day, but Bob needs a water and a nap.
Yeah, you need some water. Be sure to get some water or some Gatorade before you go to bed, brother.
We'll do it. But, hey, do that research, and I promise you'll have good stories.
All right, Bob. You be good, bro.
All right, buddy. Thanks again.
See you, man. There he is, Bob Mapplethorpe himself. Bob himself. Tremendous bunker poster and also a great late game caller. He usually calls us late. But that's cool, too, man. I mean, we need people early. Usually Auburn alumni is kind of early. Against the spread is early. Keeping him eligible is an early guy. Then you got people in the middle. D. Lucky's in the middle usually. A lot of times we have Power Man in the middle. Fig Jam maybe. And you got late people. Bob. Doc Dumpsta. Ruxu, who we usually think of him as an early one. Chip says there's at least one Quincy Steakhouse still going. If you ever need a reason to visit Florence, South Carolina, you have one. They have one going in Florence. So, if I'm ever over – Canoe Man says Florence, South Carolina is exactly where I would expect the Quincy's to survive. I don't know what that means because I've not been to Florence, South Carolina, but if I'm out that way, I would probably consider actually eating there. Assuming it's like 6 months from now and the coronavirus doesn't keep us from enjoying our buffets. Because Cece's is still closed here in Montgomery, and I'm pissed. I feel like somebody's taken away an eating experience for me, and I'm pissed about it. Cardea jumps through with a super chat. Appreciate you, sir. Boom! I know I may have sullied your reputation. Hold on, Rex. I will definitely pick you up if you call, bro. I don't mean to sully your reputation on the war zone, but I mean the numbers speak for themselves. But listen, dude, I am definitely not an ace when it comes to a war zone. So I'm not trying to shit on you like to be mean. I'm just having fun because I generally get my ass beat. What's weird though, Cardea, is that when I do solos, I do pretty well. I usually win. I usually get 3 or 4 or 5 kills, and I'm usually top 20 at least. But man, when I play in a group like with the bunker, I'm usually the worst. I don't know what the deal is. I just don't handle it well when we go to team play. I don't know. I need to figure that out. But the thing is, I don't know if you and I want to be on the same team because we're both kind of filling the same role. Anyway, Leif B., our friend from Davis County, Kentucky, says, I bet JG used to love himself some racks. Hell yes, I did. I've enjoyed that many times. Hey, caller, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
What's up, Roxy Poo? We missed you in the early part of the show, but we're glad to have you now, bro.
Yeah, I was chatting with my niece on FaceTime, so I had to jump in late. Yeah. Well, not that late, but I couldn't call early.
Yeah, we're like in our 4th hour, but that's cool. Roxy Poo, I want you to know that you're a badass, and we're glad to have you on the horn. Although you're usually our first caller, and tonight you're probably going to be our last one. But, I mean, that shows you how life is, you know?
Sometimes you got to hit the walk-off home run.
Or sometimes, life is a garden. Dig it, man.
Hell yeah, brother. I dig it. I wanted to say a big another RIP to Tubbs as my coach, and also to Coach Pat Dye. I wasn't an Auburn fan or alive when he was the coach, but I've heard great things about him. So it was awesome to hear all the stories about him tonight.
Yeah, he's big time, man. He permanently raised the level of Auburn football. So yeah, he's a badass.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that. But also about this COVID stuff, which I'll talk about with the football team. I'm with you. I don't think it's like one of these crazy, like everybody's going to die deals, but I think a chatter, somebody mentioned it. If one kid gets really sick and really bad, like it's going to be a bad look for, the NCAA and everything. So I'm worried about that, but I think we should play football. And I'm totally with the BLM people, the peaceful people, but the protest might cause another lockdown. So a little worried about that.
You're not really worried about that, are you?
I think the media will create another lockdown situation. I don't know if people will listen, but I mean, just being honest, and I'm not trying to be political here. Like, I'm with you. I don't think COVID is like going to kill everyone.
No, I agree. It's been overrated a little bit. And I think the lockdown may have been, I don't want to go as far as to say it's a mistake, but I mean, you got all these protests going down, and I'll be interested to see if these numbers go up in a couple weeks, but I don't think they will.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a scientist, obviously. But talking football, sorry, I wanted to say, I heard Jay Lee talking about that kid who decommitted from Virginia Tech. So were y'all saying he's not like one of Auburn's number one like wide receiver targets? Like we might not take him if we get other people?
It depends on which player you're talking about. Are you talking about Latrell or Christian Leary?
Yeah. Latrell.
No, I think he's a take. I think he's a take right away. I think Jay Lee was just surprised that he had decommitted because we had heard that he was pretty strongly committed. And so when he bounced, all of a sudden that kind of changed the landscape of what they were thinking about outside receiver.
Shit, that's awesome, man. I'm really excited about this Davis kid eventually. Obviously, I'm excited about Bo leading the team for a couple more years, but I hope if Gus is still around and Davis comes that they open up that read option offense again. I don't know if defenses have adjusted too much or anything, but I think it could be deadly.
Yeah, I think that's the direction they're headed. And I think Chad's going to be here a minute too. I don't think he's going to be a one and done. I think he's going to see DD get here and they're going to start using him. And yeah, I think it's a new direction for Auburn and I think it's a good one.
Yeah, no, and I think it's awesome. And I mean, I know a couple of weeks ago, everybody was like touting that, or not everybody, but there were a couple of people on the bunk. They were like, "Oh, Tennessee, this recruiting class, blah blah blah." I think Auburn's going to have a hell of a class with the way they're going right now.
Yeah, Jay Lee, who I trust more than anybody, even you, Ruxy Poo, thinks they're going really, really well. So good for them. I think it's going to be awesome.
Well, good. I'm glad.
They're going to be good.
Yeah, I'm excited about this year. Like, I hope we play and everything, and I think we will. I don't want to see one hiccup just completely screw everything up.
Yeah.
So I'm cautiously optimistic, I guess I would say.
We're familiar with hiccups around here, bro. You know what I mean? We've seen a few.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
But I guess with the global pandemic or whatever, which seems to be kind of put at bay for right now. I don't know. Anyways, I'll hop off the horn, but JG, I love you.
Hey, Rux, before you do that, I want to tell you, your super chats last week were insane, and I want to thank you very much for your generosity. You're an absolute badass.
Well, I'm just trying to be like my man, Jazzy Joe.
He's a badass,
out
too.
There balling. Yeah. He's grinding. That man don't stop working. But, JG, I love you. Y'all have a good night, and keep doing your thing.
All right. See you, Ruxy Poo. There he goes. Ruxy Poo. Absolutely outstanding. Our best super chatter. I mean, you got Why Not AU, Ruxy Poo, and Jazzy Joe. All Hall of Famers in my book. Plus, we got a bunch more. Canoe Man, Hornatius. Hell, this is probably the first show we've ever had where Stu Pup wasn't here. I mean, come on, man. He's done it like 20 shows in a row. He's a Hall of Famer. I do that on our crawl for the super chatters. If you got an R next to your name, which is actually supposed to be something else, but it just comes through as an R on here. I consider you guys Hall of Famers. So yeah. I'm talking about Ruxy Poo, Jazzy Joe, Why Not AU, Cleve C, Sparrow Empire, Stoop Up, Jonathan I, Fat Crack, Hornatius, who's Hornatius, he's just an absolute beast. Call Me Biscuit, Ben B, Leif B. You guys are all Hall of Famers in my book. So just want to say that. Infinity and O says the number of critical patients in the U.S. has not changed and may even be worse. Here we go. We got ourselves another DM8 or a Stump fan. I ain't hating though, bro. You do what you do. But oh shit, Stoop Up is in the house. Wow, here I am saying, oh no, Stoop Up. And he's here right there. It says COVID killed my job on Monday. Oh man. Golly, did that happen, bro? That makes me sick, dude. I hate to hear that. I'm sorry about that, bro. I know what a beast you are, though. You're going to come back from that. Life sends us all kinds of weird signals. Don't take it personally. I mean, as best you can. You're an absolute badass, dude. You're going to rise up, and you're going to be better than you ever been. Canoe Man says, man, that sucks, Stoop Up. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Come on, man. Here we go. Time for the second act. Alpha Tiger is apparently not a Hall of Famer. I mean, of course you are. You're a total badass, too. I love having you here on the show. You're great on the bunker, even though you ride my ass sometimes. But I don't care. Sometimes I deserve to have my ass ridden. That's the thing. I don't need a bunch of sycophants. I mean, that's fine if you guys are, but yeah, as I showed the other day, writing an ode to Knotted Shorts, who gives me hell when I deserve to have hell shown to me. I still like you guys. It's cool, man. Sometimes I'm wrong. Sometimes I'm wrong. Sometimes I don't see things the right way, and I need you guys to kind of correct me on that shit. So, yeah. We're all pulling for you, Stoop Up. Badass. You're a total badass. I think it was Canoe Man who said maybe we should miniature schnauzer. That's what my mom has. Someone had requested, I think it was Canoe Man, said we need to have Allie D on the show. I did text Allie D, and she hasn't responded. Though Allie D, I mean, she's singling and mingling out there in greater Atlanta. So, I mean, golly, I don't know what she's up to tonight. You never know with Allie. I don't communicate with Allie as often maybe as I should. It's just kind of like those folks who have been with us who kind of move on. Once I kind of feel like they're established and they're on their way, I don't know. I don't mess with them too much. I don't talk to them as much as I should probably. John H. says, go hide under your bed with your miniature schnauzer Infinity. That's not very nice, but it is funny. Look at Canoe Man. Such a positive influence. His Stump has this. Going to come back better than ever. That's what I'm talking about. I like that positivity. Of course he is. We know that. He's a badass. Well, here's the deal, guys. 10:48 in the Central Time Zone, 11:48 in the Eastern Time Zone. We've been broadcasting on the YouTubes for 3 hours and 41 minutes right now. John H. says she's in Atlanta, right? I mean, yeah, she's in greater Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta's a big-ass city. I don't know exactly where she lives. I've not been to her pad. I'm just kind of pulling for Allie in a general sense. I mean, I don't hang out with her. I mean, I did at one time, sort of, kind of. All right, so we have a source suggesting to us that the Pat Dye statue will be on the west side of Jordan-Hare Stadium. West side. West. So that would be different than Pat Sullivan and Cam and Bo Jackson. Because those guys are on the east side, right? Interesting. You heard it here first. If it's true. If it's not true, you didn't hear it here. Hey, Infinity, man, listen, dude. I'm not saying you're right or you're wrong, but there's no reason to start a fight here about this stuff. Come on, man. Let's be cool. Everybody be good. Let's not start any fights about COVID because we don't know exactly what's up with that. We do know that it's very dangerous for people over the age of 65. We do know that. We know it's dangerous for people who have pre-existing conditions, and we know that young people in general, let's say under 25, generally not having any problems with it. Now, I myself am 48 years old, so I'm keeping an eye out. I'm keeping an eye out. But at the same time, I'm not terrified. I'm doing what's been asked of me. I feel like Dr. Fauci knows what he's talking about, and I follow his directions. I wear a mask when I'm out in public. I stay away from people in general. I only go out when I feel like I need to, although I did go out to dinner last night. And but I'm not going to live my life in fear. I'm just going to live my life with my eyes open. Canoe Man says, if not true, Brandon Marcello said it. Oh, man. We're still racking on Brandon? He's gone, yo. Brandon's now a national analyst for his organization, and he's not even in Auburn anymore. So we don't have to worry about Brandon anymore. Although Brandon's fine by me. I mean, he's not like my best friend, but I don't dislike him. I mean, he's not like Philip or Jason, but whatever. Infinity No says, come on, I wasn't the one who made the personal remarks. God, here we go. God, come on, guys. Stop with the whole, drawing fouls and who said the first thing first and whatever. I'm done with this. We're going to wrap it up right here. I'm tired of this. I don't know why you got to come in here and start this. It's BS. Just bored with it. All right, guys, we'll wrap it up there. Seriously, we've gone 3 hours and 44 minutes. We got a lot of folks on the horn, but all right, you know what I mean, on the show, but we're just going to let it go. Anyway, guys, we went almost 4 hours. It is now 10:52 Central Time Zone, 11:52 Eastern Time Zone for our friends out that way in Georgia and whatever else. Bob Mapplethorpe says he has a 111-pound fish to catch at daylight. Oh, my goodness. I hope I see that. I hope you sent a picture along, bro. Go out there and get it, Bob. All right, guys, we'll wrap it up for reals. You guys are the best. We've had a great show. I want to thank all of our callers. I was writing down highlights, but I got a little bombed because I was drinking this Long Branch. But against the spread, had a great question about, has my mind ever been changed by the bunker, which I provided an example. I may provide another one later. Deezer called in and had a lot of nice things to say. Deezer, you're a badass. Jeffrey Lee talked about how they need one slot guy, one outside guy, a wide receiver, and they're kind of keeping their eye out for that. Latrell Neville is one they want outside. Christian Leary is one they want inside. He also talked about defensive line targets that Jimmy H had asked about for show. Also, the A&M game, we need to ask a little bit about the offsides calls and the fumbles. Next time we talk to Reese Smukes, we love Reese Smukes. B-Matt said he's watching The Reckoning, but he's not sure if he likes it or not. Okay? Keep that in mind. He said he took his girl, Yvonne, out to Ryan's the first time for the first date, but it wasn't Ryan's Steakhouse. It was a different Ryan's in Auburn, which is a classier establishment. And also, Bob himself implored us to learn more about Puka Robertson. So we're going to do that. Canoe Man says, JGT, who do you think is the worst bunk? Well, it's going to be someone who all they do is troll. So to me, like Stump, he's not a troll. And Ghost of Tallahassee Tiger, I mean, he's definitely worse than Stump in my mind, but is he an actual troll? I don't think so. I think he's just that guy. So to me, you come down to somebody like Ayler, who literally is just trolling all the time, like literally trolling every single minute. And then I mean, there are guys that I have actually blocked. I mean, I think they're so worthless as posters that I blocked them. Me. I'm the moderator. I'm the chief moderator, and they're so useless and inane that I don't even follow them. So that would be Charlie 5 and Big Time Ob. And neither of those guys like me, so I mean, it's cool. We're all good, but those guys are worthless as far as posting goes. Now, to be fair, Charlie 5 did show up in the chat earlier tonight and was kind of, I don't know if you guys found it entertaining, but I mean, he was kind of like he was at least here. I mean, he was kind of messing with AU Taxman, which I'm not okay with, but whatever. Hornatius says Ayler is a bunker god, and the next post from Canoe Man says Ayler is horrid. To which Ruxpin says Ayler ain't bad. Yeah, Ayler, I'm not getting it, although I don't have him blocked. I don't think he's worth that, but I think he's full of shit. Totally full of shit. Alpha Tiger, I mean, I know you troll some, but yeah, I mean, I feel like you're pretty authentic. You're not even in the picture for worst poster. Give me a break. Yeah, Canoe Man, I'm with you, bro. Ayler would be close. Ayler would be one. Just horrible posters. Good God. Somebody's bad. Like, I don't know. Love the Cat says Ayler's the real deal Holyfield. Whatever. What? I think Stump won this year just because, he's a Corona bro and the Corona's a big deal. I mean, next year he probably won't even be in the picture. But yet, who will be in the picture? Rice. Rice will be in the picture. Rice loves taking these weird positions and I don't think Rice is a troll, man. I think Rice is just fighting. He just likes fighting. I don't know. For me, it'd be a big time Aub or Charlie 5 for me. I mean, I just don't see what you guys see in them. Those guys, I just don't see any value in that. They don't see any value in me. It's all good. It's symbiotic and it's all fine. I'm glad they're here because they must love Brian and Jeffrey or young Nate. They sure don't like me, but whatever. All right, Infinity and O says he wasn't trying to start anything for the record. You like coming in here fighting about COVID numbers, but yeah, you weren't trying to start anything. I get it. Yeah, I'll probably wrap it up there for reals. I'm actually getting text from administrative assistant at this point. She's like, wrap it up. All right, guys, this is going to be the end of it. 3 hours and 50 minutes. We did go for a while on this one. You got to give me credit for that, Hornatius. Thank you to all of our super chatters who are absolute beasts. You guys know how I feel about you guys. Let's see. Let me go through our badass super chatters tonight. Hornatius times like 6. Rich 420. Gavin 08. Raven P jumped in earlier. Very appreciated. Canoe Man. Ruxy Poo, my man. D Lucky as well. Bob himself. And Cardea are super chatters tonight. And, of course, all you guys who participated in the chat, those of you who called in, are absolute studs as well. I will wrap it up there. You guys be good. Appreciate you guys being part of the bunker. If you're not, auburnsports.com is where it's at. You can hear Jeffrey Lee, or you can read Jeffrey Lee, Brian, Nate, and me there all the time. That's kind of where we live, on the bunker. That's our message board, and it's awesome. It's a lot of fun. It can be kind of rough, but it's actually a lot of fun. You'll get used to it. Just don't be so soft. Anyway, guys, appreciate you being part of the show. Until we see you again, you know what I'm talking about. Keep your feet on the ground. Keep reaching for the stars. See you.